Chapter 1941, Contented Lifestyle. 1941 Contented Lifestyle. Emperor City Battlefield. Rumble, dust clouds spread. The earth cracked open, a large trench spread out and extended forward, swallowing everything in its path, approaching Emperor City. Emperor City's destruction was about to occur. At this moment, there were still several Central Continent Gu immortals guarding Emperor City, but to save the lives of everyone in such a short time, none of the Gu immortals could do it. Earth trenches were formed naturally, nobody could predict where the next earth trench would appear. But only Feng Yuan knew. Because this earth trench appeared in his previous life and destroyed Emperor City. Both Central Continent's and Western Desert's forces were caught off guard. The earth trench was truly a huge shock to them. But Western Desert was shocked and happy while Central Continent was shocked and fearful. Right when Emperor City was about to be destroyed, an immortal Gu house emerged and turned into jade light as it flew into the sky rapidly. It was Divine Bean Palace. Stop him! Central Continent's Gu immortal subconsciously shouted. What is Fang Dichang doing? Thousand Transformations ancestor and the rest were quite surprised. Divine Bean Palace's action was not what they had planned. Fang Dichang was shocked at the moment. Not only could he not connect to the outside world, his entire body was immobilized. Divine Bean Palace shook intensely, a formless force was restraining him completely. On the painting that surrounded the walls, a lump of will emerged. The will quickly gathered into human form. He had the appearance of a young man with a gentlemanly air, wearing green clothes and a white headband, his long hair extended to his shoulders. Seeing this will, Fang Dichang's expression turned ashen. He shouted, Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable, the Venerable with the most abundant immortal essence in history, the third-generation immortal king of Heavenly Court, the creator of Heavenly Lotus Sect. He was the one who cleansed the demonic trend. He restored order to the world. Indeed, this was Genesis Lotus Will. Damn it, he was hiding in the painting so I could not discover him. Fang Dichang understood at once. He had no understanding of painting path after all. But why did I lose control of Divine Bean Palace the moment Genesis Lotus Will appeared? I am restrained here without any freedom left. Instantly, Fang Dichang thought of Qin Chou. His heart turned cold. He had once thought he completely refined Divine Bean Palace, but the cruel truth was exposed here. Divine Bean Palace still continued secrets. Its owner was still Genesis Lotus Will all along. This method was a secret to both the real Fang Dichang and Feng Yuan's clone. They were unaware of it. How could a Venerable's immortal Gu house be taken so easily? Boom! Divine Bean Palace landed on the ground, right in the center of Emperor City, as if it was overseeing the situation. An endless amount of green light spread out from Divine Bean Palace. The light was as warm as water. It was not glaring at all, radiating half the sky. The whole of Emperor City was covered in green light. Within the light, paintings in all the corners of Emperor City started to surface and show themselves. These were all paintings of the lives of people. They portrayed the scene of Emperor City at certain points in time. There were marketplaces, crowded with people. Vendors vied for attention while selling a wide variety of goods. There were the silhouettes of courtyards of several houses, and on the tall trees in the courtyard, a few birds' nests had young chicks waiting to fly. Under the trees, there was a group of children playing and chasing each other, full of hope for the future. There was a group going towards the bride's house. They traveled from the north with the groom riding on a large horse. Behind him was a mortal Gu house carriage. 1. This kind of mortal Gu house was usually only used during marriage ceremonies in Central Continent, and the surface of the carriage was decorated with colorful blooming flowers. Behind the carriage was a group of servants carrying the bride's generous dowry. There was a tea house. The street in front of the entrance was crowded with pedestrians, and the upper level of the tea house was filled with guests who were eating breakfast while looking through the windows, watching the street. The banners of the tea house, used to attract customers, fluttered along with the slight morning breeze. There was also a painting depicting dusk. At the corner of the street near the city gate, there was a stall where a blind old Gu master, who perhaps owned a wisdom path Gu worm, was acting as a fortune teller, predicting the future prospects of a female customer. Be it dusk or dawn, the city gates or the vibrant markets, the contented lifestyles of the people in Emperor City could be clearly seen in these respective paintings. Undeniably, this was a painting path method filled with the profundities of human path. Immortal killer move, contented lifestyle. Emperor City actually has such a hidden method from Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable had once lived in Emperor City as a mortal for some time. Don't tell me that these rumors were actually true. Painting path is truly profound. Central Continent's Gu immortals were joyful. Western Desert's side felt that the situation was turning bad. Divine Bean Palace was connected with Emperor City and formed a gigantic immortal Gu house. The central area was Divine Bean Palace, while the periphery was the former Emperor City. As the Earth Trench approached, the monstrous mouth opened, attempting to engulf Emperor City. But Emperor City had transformed already, it floated in the sky without moving at all. The countless people in the city cheered loudly. They jumped in joy as they cheered and shouted, they had escaped a certain death situation. A group of people were sobbing with joy, they knelt down on the ground and started to kowtow to the paintings. Suddenly, many new paintings appeared all over the place, the content of the paintings were the scenes of these kowtowing people. This killer move, contented lifestyle, was able to draw power from mortals to strengthen itself. As the power of the paintings accumulated unceasingly, it was transmitted into Divine Bean Palace. Genesis Lotus will control this power. He had a firm grasp of Divine Bean Palace. He looked towards Fang Di Chang with a seemingly smiling face. Fang Yuan, I have to thank you for bringing Divine Bean Palace here, you prevented a catastrophe for the mortals. This was Genesis Lotus's arrangement when he was alive. In the previous life, Divine Bean Palace was not brought here by Fang clan, thus Emperor City was destroyed. In this life, using Fang Yuan's clone as the tool, Divine Bean Palace appeared to save the mortals. As his feeling of danger increased, Fang Di Chang struggled intensely. But a profound power restrained him and directly sent him into the painting of Divine Bean Palace. Fang Di Chang's vision changed. When he took a second look, he was already inside the painting. The scene was quite familiar to him. He saw a gray-white land with deep pits in it. He had planted the immortal beans here back then. Right now, most of the beans were used up in the fight, there were only some sprouts left here, slowly growing. Fang Di Chang found that he could move again, but it was useless. No matter how he tried, he could not escape from this painting. I am sealed within the painting. Fang Di Chang thought about Flower Lady in his previous life. She had been suppressed in the painting that was in heaven overseeing tower. Fang Di Chang tried to connect to his main body, but he found that he could not communicate with the outside world. He could not even sense treasure yellow heaven. All of his communicative methods were ineffective. Calm down, I still have my final hope. Fang Di Chang pondered for a moment before activating the killer move Karma Divine Tree. Thankfully, this move had been modified already. Once he activated it, Genesis Lotus Will, which was outside the painting, had a change of expression. This method was truly the only way to resist, even Genesis Lotus Will could not stop him. At this time, in Emperor City, the final competition of the Central Continent Refinement Path Convention was undergoing. This great competition was finally at its last moment, the victor was about to be decided. I succeeded. Success. Hong Yi and Yi Fan spoke at the same time, they refined the Gu refinement at the same time. To decide the victor, a time path Gu master would need to inspect the specific timing of their completion. But at this moment, jade light shined, the two were enveloped by it, dragged by it and flying far away. This jade light was extremely fast, it brought Hong Yi and Yi Fan into Divine Bean Palace almost instantly. Genesis Lotus Will in Divine Bean Palace gritted his teeth. Seeing this, the two people brought by the jade light were extremely close to Fang Yuan, they were either his pawns or his capable subordinates. Genesis Lotus Will quickly activated Divine Bean Palace. The light that carried Yi Fan and Hong Yi took a twist as it landed in a painting of Emperor City, both of them were sealed as well. What is going on? Who won? Hong Yi and Yi Fan looked at each other with a dumbfounded expression. They were currently inside a painting created by the killer move Contented Lifestyle. All they saw was a peaceful and serene environment in front of them. This made them feel extremely confused. Where in the world are we? Aren't there Gu immortals fighting outside Emperor City? Why can't we hear anything? Am I dreaming? Hong Yi gave himself a hard pinch. He gritted his teeth as he felt a sharp pain. 1. We call it a Chinese sedan, otherwise known as litter, vehicle, Google for image. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1942, Destiny Song. 1942 Destiny Song. Hairy Foot Mountain Battlefield. Only a small portion of the five-colored smoke remained. Dizongxing roared as it used its mighty strength to tear the formation. Its mountain range-sized body was still charging forward. Stop it. Another subformation has been broken. How many subformations do we still have? Only one is left. Quickly construct the subformations. We can't, its destructive force is too great, we won't make it in time. The 9 consecutive unceasing formation was in chaos. Many Central Continent Gu immortals were stationed here but got restricted by the five-colored smoke, be it controlling the formation or constructing subformations, they had to face backlashes. The more powerful the person and the more strength they used, the stronger the backlash would be. Dizongxing was extremely powerful, it could break the subformations so quickly with just its physical strength. And it was constantly becoming stronger. The 5 regions' regional walls grew increasingly fragile. The earth veins of the 5 regions were gradually merging into one. The earth trench that spread to Emperor City was huge evidence. Earth trenches had already spread to the central region of Central Continent. This meant that the merging of earth veins had reached the highest point. Be it the other 4 regions or Central Continent, the rapid spread of new earth trenches led to countless tragedies and deaths. Human emotions were surging. Dizongxing was different from other legendary immemorial beasts. It was born from the power of earth veins fused with the negative emotions of humans. Right now, Central Continent's earth vein expanded to become the 5 regions' earth vein. Dizongxing's strength rose to 5 times of before. Negative emotions were also increasing wildly in the humans of all regions. Dizongxing's strength was further soaring because of this. Duke Long was growing stronger continuously because of Heavenly Dragon's last stand. And Dizongxing's strength was growing at an even more horrifying speed than Duke Long's. As such, even though Heavenly Court's main force was here, using all their abilities and staking their lives, they were unable to stop Dizongxing's charge. Heavenly Court's main force was furious. We can't let it move forward. We must stop it even if we die. Damned evil dragon. Get out of my way, let me stop it. Zhang Fei Xiong suddenly roared, becoming a giant with a bare head and human body. He attacked with no fear of death. Bam! A muffled sound echoed. He was directly crushed into meat paste, dying on the spot. This rank 8 transformation path great expert could only obstruct Dizongxing for a brief moment. Zhang Fei Xiong. The eyes of Heavenly Court's immortals were filled with tears. At the crucial moment, the Heavenly Court members showed no hesitation towards sacrificing themselves. Let me. At the next moment, Flesh Whip Immortal went forward. She transformed into an immemorial walking meat tree, which was her strongest form. Bam! Another muffled sound echoed. Flesh Whip Immortal was smashed to pieces, her blood splashing everywhere. Flesh Whip Immortal. The group of immortals cried out. When she was needed, she charged ahead without any regard for herself. A grand rank 8, a genius of her generation, could only stall it for a breath of time. Even the southern border immortals were visibly moved. What was urging them to do so? Seemingly. Heavenly Court's Gu immortals had all been like this since ancient times. Their spirit had never waned, it had instead been fostered and enhanced. Heavenly Court had never lacked brave members. Primordial Origin might have passed away, but his spirit did not. Unfortunately, your efforts are futile. At Wu Shuai's will, countless clones flew out of Dragon Palace. They were pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. These dream path clones turned into a huge vanguard army and flew in front of Dizongxing, attacking the final subformation. Watch this. Under the immortal's expectant gaze, Feng Jin Huang stood up, her youthful face was filled with seriousness and solemnness. She borrowed the immortal formation's strength to activate immortal killer move Shatter Dream. Bam bam bam. Pure dream reality seeker physique bodies exploded directly, becoming lumps of dream realms on the spot that rotated and moved slowly. Immortal killer move, pure dream reality seeker transformation. Feng Jin Huang activated another method. These restored dream realms transformed back to human form again, but this time, they belonged to Feng Jin Huang. With Feng Jin Huang here, Dream Path was no longer Heavenly Court's weakness. What about this then? Before Heavenly Court's force could relax, a large formation was sent out from Dragon Palace at this crucial moment. 5 Regional Limit Formation. 5 colored smoke spouted once again and rapidly spread to cover the whole area. Heavenly Court's main force had bloodshot eyes as Zhu Ke shouted hoarsely, "Destroy it." Vortex Space Boy and Jun Shenguang had already moved towards the formation. Too late. Zhan Budu exclaimed with joy from inside the formation. He did not let down everyone's expectations. At this crucial moment, he finished repairing the whole formation and joined the battle again. 5 colored smoke expanded and covered the subformation. Puff puff puff. The Central Continent Gu immortals were still setting up the formation. They were caught unprepared and coughed blood repeatedly, most fainted on the spot while some even died from the backlash. By now, they were all exhausted and the 5 regional limit formation became their death warrant. As for the Gu immortals controlling the main formation, they were forced to ease their strength while resisting the injuries from the backlash. Roar! Di Zongxing took the chance to attack. It directly smashed into the final subformation. The 9-9 consecutive unceasing formation was finally broken at this moment. The formation collapsed, the obstruction disappeared, Hairy Foot Mountain that had been hidden by the formation got exposed. This mountain was small and inconspicuous, it was as ordinary as could be, but it held infallible blessed land. The Gu immortals who had been controlling the main formation were lying on Hairy Foot Mountain. The formation's destruction inflicted serious injuries on these Gu immortals again, almost none of them were in a clear-headed state. Most of the Gu immortals had already lost their lives, while a small portion were in a dazed state. Feng Jin Huang, who had been protected tightly, also had a pale face. She fell down to the ground in exhaustion and did not have any strength to escape. At this moment, she could only look on as Di Zongxing came charging. She could do nothing but wait for death. A strong sense of death suffocated Feng Jin Huang. Am I going to die? At this moment, this young female Gu master felt a sense of loss. Protect Feng Jin Huang. Save her. No need to care about infallible blessed land. The final batch of success Dao marks have already been sent to Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court's main force staked all their energy to rescue Feng Jin Huang. Wishful thinking. The southern border Gu immortals laughed wildly as they used their strength to hold back these Heavenly Court Gu immortals as much as possible. Wu Yong's unlimited wind blew while making heavy sounds. This giant tornado stalled a large number of Heavenly Court Gu immortals. Jun Shenguang and Vortex Space Boy charged to the front again. One cultivated light path, another space path, their activation speed of killer moves was fastest. Immortal killer move, dreamy light smoke. Dragon Palace withstood all sorts of explosions and forcibly attacked Jun Shenguang and Vortex Space Boy. Jun Shenguang and Vortex Space Boy finally could not dodge, they were carried away by dreamy light smoke the moment they were struck. After capturing these two, Dragon Palace had reached its limits and could not capture any more people unless these two were killed. Destroy Hairy Foot Mountain and infallible blessed land. Wu Yong shouted as he took the lead to charge in front. He was not on Heavenly Court's side and naturally was unaware that Heavenly Court had already completed the task. Even if he were to destroy infallible blessed land now, it did not have any influence on the big picture. Don't even think about it. A lump of fire obstructed Wu Yong, from which Prince Feng Xian flew out. By you alone. Wu Yong's eyes shined with sharp killing intent. He suddenly disappeared, and when he appeared, he was already behind Prince Feng Xian. Immortal killer move, farewell friend wind. We became friends at first sight, yet you have to go now. This is farewell, my good friend, let me send you off. Wu Yong smiled lightly. Hearing these words, even Prince Feng Xian, a person who infiltrated and went undercover in northern plains for many years, turned pale with fright. Next, Prince Feng Xian lost control over his body and slowly floated towards the front. While floating, his hair, clothes, and limbs started to disintegrate. Damn it! Farewell Friend Wind is actually in Wu Yong's hand. Prince Feng Xian shouted inwardly but was unable to articulate his words. He could not move at all, none of his methods could be used. With the final obstruction gone, Wu Yong charged down towards Hairy Foot Mountain like an eagle hunting its prey. The remaining Heavenly Court members wanted to reinforce but were held back by others. Wu Yong revealed awe-inspiring might. Before he had even truly descended, the wind pressure from him was already as heavy as a mountain. Feng Jin Huang could not even budge from this pressure and slowly closed her eyes in despair. But the pain that she anticipated did not manifest. Feng Jin Huang slowly opened her eyes in doubt and saw a figure blocking Wu Yong in front of her like an impenetrable fortress. The moment she saw this extremely familiar figure, she cried out in joy, "Father!" The rank 8 Gu immortal who appeared at the crucial moment was none other than Feng Gu. He wore a red and white robe, standing straight like a spear or sword. Hearing Feng Jin Huang's cry, Feng Gu turned sideways and looked at Feng Jin Huang. His eyes under his sharp brows revealed warmth and concern as well as confidence. Feng Gu did not say anything and only nodded at Feng Jin Huang before facing Wu Yong. But just that nod made Feng Jin Huang feel immense security and let her relax completely. This groundless comfort was completely baffling and had no basis, but Feng Jin Huang believed in it. This was her father Feng Gu. Wu Yong's eyes emitted dangerous light. Feng Gu, Wu Yong mumbled this name as he exposed his killing intent. You stopped me from chasing Fang Yuan before, I will settle the score with you properly now. He then prepared his killer move, trying to use Farewell Friend Wind again. Feng Gu did not dodge or evade, he remained floating in the air as he slowly sang with a smile on his face. His voice was illusory and deep, it was filled with conflict and was very unique. Wu Yong was unconsciously influenced by the song, his attack paused. Initially, the song was like a small stream of water in the mountains, flowing slowly. Gradually, the stream turned into flowing lava that expanded the river's width, in the range of mountains, like a wandering dragon. Damn it, what song is this? Wu Yong's expression changed intensely, he began to struggle with difficulty. He had been the first to be struck by the move because he was the nearest. The song made Wu Yong feel unwell, it made him feel like he had returned to when he was young. He was always shrouded under his mother Wu Duxiu's shadow and had received her strict teaching and restrictions. During that time, he could only receive her lessons obediently. At the next moment, Wu Yong's eyes opened even wider. The Farewell Friend Wind killer move he had used earlier on Prince Feng Xian had actually stopped. What song is this? It can actually break Farewell Friend Wind? Wu Yong was shaken. Prince Feng Xian felt a different sensation. He felt like he had returned to the past when he had disguised his identity and finally cultivated to rank 8 in Northern Plains. He had a grotto heaven and finally had a feeling of joy, no longer having to endure the overbearing attitude of Northern Plains Super Force Gong tribe. Under the effect of Destiny Song, the southern border immortals were weakened and dispirited. On the contrary, Heavenly Court's side felt free and elated, their condition picked up and their injuries recovered. Destiny Song's ability was extremely comprehensive. What was even more amazing was that it could distinguish between allies and enemies. This was something that the previous life's Destiny Song could never compare to. Even Wu Shuai and the rest were constrained by the song, only Di Zongxing roared and forcibly endured the song, still continuing to charge forward. Feng Gu concentrated on Di Zongxing. Di Zongxing's body was so huge that it almost covered the sky and earth, just its dragon head was as big as a mountain. Feng Gu, in comparison, was as minuscule as an ant. But at the next moment, the effects of the song concentrated and focused on Di Zongxing. Di Zongxing felt like it had returned to the time when it was suppressed in Hidden Dragon Cave. it was in a dark cage, unable to regain freedom even though it had 1,000 desires and endless strength. Helplessness. Xianxia started to slow down. It wanted to roar and cry out, but it ended up letting out whimpers. The immortals were shocked. This scene was too shocking. Xianxia defeated Xianxia in one move. This was the strongest legendary immemorial desolate beast of this age. In the previous life, it could fight Duke Long, who was at his final moments of life. If he had not captured Dragon Palace, it would have been impossible for him to handle Xianxia so easily. This is my personal creation, Destiny Song. It has just been completed, please feel free to critique it. Xianxia Gu continued to sing while transmitting his voice. Destiny Song. The immortals, be they enemies or allies, engraved the name of this killer move deep in their hearts. The moment this move appeared, it became famous. From today onwards, everyone in the world would know of it. Destiny was constantly moving, it had ups and downs. Who would not have low points in their life? Even Fang Yuan, even the venerables had times when they were at their lowest points. Destiny Song could bring out the lows and highs of the destiny of all living beings. At times, even heaven and earth will help you, at times, even heroes cannot emerge unscathed. Xianxia Gu's 9th song, Sound Path Rank 8 Immortal Killer Move, Destiny Song. This is troublesome. Wu Shuai's expression was extremely heavy. He actually created the complete Destiny Song. As expected of Xianxia Gu. Zhan Budu sighed heavily. This battle situation was transmitted to Heavenly Court. Fairy Ziwei was naturally overjoyed. Xianxia Gu had been in a state of comprehension. He took the initiative and requested to explore the River of Time. Qin Dingling inspected his luck and saw his fortuitous encounter, so she fully supported it. Fairy Ziwei had thus secretly arranged a time path Immortal Gu house to send Xianxia Gu to the River of Time quietly. Fairy Ziwei believed Qin Dingling's words and she also saw Xianxia Gu's potential, but she had never imagined Xianxia Gu would actually give her such a huge surprise. Rank 8 Immortal Killer Move Destiny Song. Just this move alone raised Xianxia Gu's strength to the peak. He became one of the strongest people in the world. Heavenly Court wanted to restore rank 9 Fate Gu and seize fortune rivaling Heaven Gu to try to refine rank 10 Destiny Gu. Longevity Heaven also had the same plan, but their target was set lower. They wanted to use the damaged Fate Gu to refine rank 9 Destiny Gu. But both sides had not expected that ahead of them, a Gu Immortal actually created the initial draft of the Immortal Gu recipe of Destiny Gu. Immortal killer moves could be condensed into Immortal Gu recipes. The best example was Fang Yuan's Myriad Self Immortal Gu. The refined Myriad Self Immortal Gu recipe had been derived from the killer move Myriad Self. It was no exaggeration to say that this move alone allowed Xianxia Gu's name to be written down in history. Worthy of a Dao Guardian. Such overwhelming talent, even Fairy Ziwei felt stunned and dazzled. She admitted her inferiority. Father, you are amazing. Feng Jinhuang stared at Xianxia Gu's back with her eyes wide open. Feelings of idolization and love almost overflowed. The girl's heart was filled with pride and joy at this moment. Yes, my father has never disappointed me. At this moment, Feng Jinhuang was filled with bliss as she cheered inwardly. Father, you are most amazing, your broad shoulders will forever be my most reliable support. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1943, Fang Yuan's Strongest Offense. 1943 Fang Yuan's Strongest Offense. Heavenly Court's Battlefield. Immortal Killer Move, Dragon Roaring Wave. Immortal Killer Move, Body Flicker. Duke Long's figure suddenly appeared on the right of Myriad Year Flying Warship. Too close. Almost at the same time, the daybreak swords that were floating around Myriad Year Flying Warship swarmed in and submerged Duke Long. Countless dragon-shaped tattoos floated around Duke Long's body, blocking the powerful sword attacks. This was Duke Long's main defensive killer move, 9 Dragons Protection. 9 was just a general number implying countless tattoos. This was a rare passive defensive method and usually stayed hidden on Duke Long's skin, but when there was an attack, it activated automatically and did not need Duke Long's wills or thoughts to be maintained. Duke Long forcibly withstood the Daybreak Sword's attacks with this move, then clenched his hands into fists. Immortal Killer Move, World-Shaking Dragon Hammer. Boom! The Dragon Hammer's strike directly sent Myriad Year Flying Warship flying. Myriad Year Flying Warship was sent flying, but it stopped suddenly. The surrounding space crumbled like countless pieces of glass. These glass pieces were extremely sharp, and as long as they touched Myriad Year Flying Warship, they would leave behind deep marks, killing many goo worms. Fang Yuan, who was standing on the deck, also got a cut on his cheek. This was Xianxia's ability. She used space path killer moves to set up countless traps everywhere in the battlefield. They had extremely high power. But this scene only flashed in Fang Yuan's mind, it had not happened yet. This was Time Path Killer Move, 3 Breaths Future Vision. 3 Breaths Future Vision was an investigative killer move that came from He Fan's true inheritance. It allowed the Gu Immortal to see 3 breaths into the future related to them. Due to Fang Yuan's Dao Mark amplification, its power had increased by 1500 times and thus could show its effect even when battling an expert at the level of Duke Long. However, this move was essentially only rank 7, so it did not show effect every time. It succeeded sometimes but failed at other times as well. At the next moment. Immortal Killer Move, Dragon Roaring Wave. Immortal Killer Move, Body Flicker. Duke Long's figure suddenly appeared on the right of Myriad Year Flying Warship, just like the scene displayed by 3 Breaths Future Vision. Fang Yuan snorted coldly and controlled Myriad Year Flying Warship to move far away, brushing past the countless space path traps. What a pity! Xianxia sighed deeply in her heart. Just a little and Fang Yuan would have triggered the space path traps. She was floating in the air without any obvious movement, but she was secretly and quietly forming and laying space path traps. After fighting Fang Yuan for a long time, the battle experiences that had remained deep within her memories were coming to life and her methods became more experienced. After Xianxia and Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable made a secret agreement 300,000 years ago, she had moved to Heavenly Court and lived a peaceful life, never having to fight again. But before this, Xianxia's name and the legendary immemorial beast's position were personally established by her. Fang Yuan controlled Myriad Year Flying Warship and dodged while observing Xianxia. Although Xianxia's battle strength was recovering, her combat style was obvious. She retained the habits of fighting as an immemorial desolate plant. Her battle style leaned toward staying at one spot and attacking with long-ranged attacks, using space path methods to create distance from her enemies before laying space path traps. Her nature could be seen from her combat style. She liked to fish patiently. This also meant she was not aggressive and would not take risks. Although many of Xianxia's methods were still mysterious, Fang Yuan had already begun to understand the details of Xianxia. On the contrary, Duke Long was still unfathomable and not easy to comprehend. Fang Yuan fought Duke Long in the previous life and he also knew Duke Long's methods for the most part, but Duke Long's combat style was ever-changing. He defended at times while becoming aggressive at other times. He suddenly attacked and evaded at times, making others unable to see a clear pattern. This combat attainment was not just due to Duke Long's battle experience but also his innate talent. As far as Fang Yuan was concerned, defeating Xianxia might be difficult but he had a high chance. But he was still unable to see even the slightest chance of defeating Duke Long till now. Unless I can break Duke Long's defensive killer move. Fang Yuan analyzed inwardly. Duke Long's main defensive killer move was 9 Dragons Protection. Fang Yuan was collecting information during the battle and breaking it down. But his gains were minimal. It was extremely difficult to break a strong enemy's killer move during a battle. Compared to 9 Dragons Protection, Fang Yuan wanted to break Heavenly Dragon's Last Stand much more. But this killer move left no trace. Fang Yuan did not even have a way to gather its information. Based on his original expectation, Steel Life was the best method to deal with Duke Long, but it showed no effect even after hitting. Wait, I seem to have neglected something. Suddenly, a light of inspiration flashed past Fang Yuan's mind. But when he wanted to explore this inspiration, it was interrupted by an attack. Fang Yuan did not even have to look to know that this was an attack from Demon Judgment Board. This rank 8 immortal Gu house was truly an annoyance. It did not have any weakness, its speed was so fast that it did not lose to myriad-year flying warship and had extremely powerful defense. If it was 1 versus 1, Demon Judgment Board could never be Fang Yuan's match, but it would definitely consume some time. Theft path methods were the best way to deal with this immortal Gu house, but it was not easy to use them in front of Duke Long and Xianxia. Fang Yuan had currently transformed into the immemorial year monkey, which coordinated well with myriad-year flying warship. If he transformed his Dao marks to theft path, his battle strength would fall greatly, giving Duke Long and Xianxia an opportunity instead. What made Fang Yuan even more wary was that even if he were to transform into a theft path immemorial desolate beast and use Great Thief Ghost Hand, his attack might not hit Demon Judgment Board. Even if it hit, it might not be able to steal immortal Gu. Fang Yuan's luck path superiority was already dealt for most part by Qin Dingling. Demon Judgment Board moreover had Gu Fangzheng, who restrained Fang Yuan in terms of luck. So, theft path methods were not the correct methods to change the situation. Fang Yuan. At this time, Fang Zheng, who was in charge of Demon Judgment Board, had a complicated mood. Could Fang Yuan be considered his own brother? No. Fang Yuan's physical body had changed, his soul was also of an otherworldly demon. Then, was he a stranger? No. The memories of childhood could not be erased, they had once been in each other's company. Anger? There was. Fang Yuan toyed around with him and disregarded his life, he definitely had a sinister scheme for putting him in Langya Blessed Land. Hatred? Definitely. Fang Yuan killed his own clan and had been the shadow and nightmare of Fang Zheng's childhood. What else beyond these? Having experienced many things, Fang Zheng had slowly begun to understand Fang Yuan and even felt some admiration for Fang Yuan. People often had to compromise in this world. Fang Zheng had started realizing his shallowness and gained an understanding of himself. The so-called A-grade aptitude was just a kind of narcissism, Fang Zheng had already become mature. Besides understanding and admiration, Fang Zheng even felt a trace of gratitude towards Fang Yuan. He was grateful to Fang Yuan for creating obstacles for him, for giving him suffering and hardships. These were all wealth that helped Fang Zheng grow to what he was now. If it were not for the hardships during the Continental War in Langya Blessed Land, how could Fang Zheng have merged the various cultivation experiences of the past Demon Judgment Board lords and created the killer move Bloodkin Heart Revenge? Fang Zheng had once dreamed of a day where he could fight Fang Yuan and take revenge with his own hands. But now that the moment really came, Fang Zheng felt a lot different from what he had imagined. He neither felt the pleasure of taking revenge nor felt satisfaction. His thoughts were complicated, very complicated. Duke Long, Zhang Xianzi, Fang Zheng, and Qin Dingling, besides them, there is also Fairy Ziwei. Fang Yuan's expression turned increasingly serious as he received attacks from all sides. As Duke Long continued to grow stronger and the coordination of Heavenly Court's Gu immortals became more tight, Fang Yuan's thoughts were almost fully used to maintain this battle. His ability to analyze the whole situation was continuously falling. Be it activating killer moves or controlling myriad-year flying warship, both expended a lot of energy. Fang Yuan also needed to be aware of the overall situation, to keep an eye on all the battlefields, and secretly influence the Gu immortals of other regions. In fact, Duke Long's group was also in the same state. The battle was becoming more intense, powerful and complicated killer moves involving many Gu worms were activated more frequently, which demanded more attention and control. If Fairy Ziwei recovers, I will be at a disadvantage whether she joins the battle or takes charge of the overall situation. Fang Yuan's eyes shined with coldness. Ha ha ha. Duke Long suddenly laughed as he got the latest report of the battle in Hairy Foot Mountain. Fang Yuan, no matter how many times you are reborn, it is useless. Use all your abilities, otherwise it will be too late. Fang Yuan's expression was grim as he also learned of the recent battle situation. In the Emperor City battlefield, his clone Fang Di Chang was lost and Divine Bean Palace had defected to the enemy's side. In the Hairy Foot Mountain battlefield, Daoist Gu appeared and used the extremely powerful Destiny Song, which even made Xianxia fall into a disadvantage. Heavenly Court's foundation was truly too deep. Fang Yuan was not only fighting against Duke Long's group, he was also contending against Heavenly Court's millions of years of accumulation. The situation in the outside world was not dependable, as such, all the pressure was on Fang Yuan's shoulders. Fang Yuan's gaze suddenly turned sharp like lightning. Indeed, I cannot hold back anymore. He was not able to find Duke Long's weakness, but with the situation forcing him, even if there was no weakness, Fang Yuan had to use his full strength. Myriad Year Flying Warship rose to the air, rapidly creating distance as Fang Yuan began preparing a killer move. Duke Long did not give chase, he remained standing in the air, looking above with concentration. His expression looked like he was facing a great enemy, he no longer looked down on Fang Yuan. Xianxia took a deep breath and was extremely vigilant. Qin Dingling, Fang Zheng, as well as Fairy Ziwei who was recuperating at the edge of the battlefield fixed their gazes on Fang Yuan. Even Bing Sai Chuan, who was crazily attacking the refinement path formation and bombarding Heaven Overseeing Tower, split a portion of his attention towards Fang Yuan's every move. Everyone was aware the victory or defeat in the following battle could very likely determine the outcome of the whole situation. Immortal Killer Move, 12 Zodiac Battle Formation. Fang Yuan first summoned 12 immemorial year beasts. This method had already been revealed before. But different from before, the 12 Zodiac Battle Formation did not condense into a giant monster but transformed into a golden helm. The helm was like a carriage wheel, it had 6 spokes and 12 handles, each handle had a carving of a year beast. The 12 Zodiac Battle Helm flew towards Myriad Year Flying Warship and merged into it rapidly. The dazzling silver Myriad Year Flying Warship suddenly had a large golden image that looked like flying sand, transforming at every moment. The golden image transformed into a coiling dragon at one time, a giant tiger at other time, a crowing rooster, or a ramming ox. The 12 immemorial year beasts combined perfectly with Myriad Year Flying Warship. Fang Yuan's previous concept was fully displayed to the world at this moment. He actually merged an ancient battle formation into an immortal Gu house perfectly. Qin Dingling's eyes opened wide. Fang Zheng looked on, dumbfounded. Such amazing talent. Even Duke Long could not help but praise. He had never seen this sight. Fang Yuan was the first to achieve this in history. Although it was said that ancient battle formations and immortal Gu houses were immortal killer moves in essence, no one had succeeded in combining these two killer moves prior to Fang Yuan. Careful, it is attacking. Xianxia shouted with a trace of panic. Myriad Year Flying Warship was letting out a frightening aura that even shook her. Immortal Killer Move, Daybreak Torrent. Myriad Year Flying Warship swooped down, leaving behind a trail of sonic booms. It was already an outstanding rank 8 immortal Gu house, the 12 Zodiac Battle Formation that merged with it even possessed a mighty strength that could match Duke Long's. After they merged, their strength combined to a horrifying level. Duke Long roared as he unleashed a chi wall. Myriad Year Flying Warship's momentum was slightly slowed before it broke through Duke Long's chi wall. Duke Long frowned as he activated chi wall again. Myriad Year Flying Warship broke the chi wall again. Duke Long erected the chi wall again while Myriad Year Flying Warship broke it again. After 5 times, Myriad Year Flying Warship's momentum finally fell sharply. Fang Yuan sneered, Immortal Killer Move, Myriad Year Hunting. At the next moment, the river of time phantom under Myriad Year Flying Warship enlarged suddenly, countless year beasts surged out like a huge tide. The sky-covering year beast army began attacking the immortal graveyard like a giant tsunami that engulfed everything. The large army had countless year beasts, with large numbers of ancient year beasts, and even immemorial year beasts were not in a small quantity. What was even more terrifying was that this year beast army moved to Fang Yuan's will. Terrifying. Just this move alone can let Fang Yuan attack any super force in the world by himself. Does he want to summon all the year beasts in the River of Time? This is almost like a copy of Call of the Ancient. It is just that while Red Lotus's method summons past Gu immortal experts, Fang Yuan is summoning the year beasts in the river of time. But didn't myriad year hunting only attract year beasts and had no ability to control them? This is probably the qualitative change caused by the merging of 12 zodiac battle formation. Heavenly Court side was shaken. Fang Yuan's trump cards were truly peerless, he just used one and it showed towering might. Duke Long, Xianxia and the rest immediately felt troubled. The scale of this year beast army was too large, moreover, Fang Yuan was still summoning them with no end in sight. The year beast army scattered and spread everywhere like a blossoming flower, attacking every corner of Heavenly Court side, which lacked manpower, was unable to defend properly. Xianxia clenched her teeth as she continuously activated space path killer moves to kill as many year beasts as possible in an attempt to ease the current pressure. Be careful! Duke Long suddenly shouted. Ha! Xianxia seemingly saw the image of a small knife, her pupils shrunk to the size of pins as she reacted, but it was too late, she was already struck. How is this possible, so fast? I clearly arranged. Xianxia gazed at Fang Yuan in incredulity. Her body stiffened, a bloody hole appeared on her forehead, piercing through the back of her head. The injury was filled with dense time path Dao marks that even a legendary immemorial beast's self-recovery could not regenerate. Immortal killer move, time cutting edge. This was the supreme method of Central Continent's Bo clan. Once this knife was shot out, it would not miss, anyone hit by it would die. It had once shaken the whole Central Continent with terror. The killer move's contents were extremely complex and its steps were ever-changing. Among Fang Yuan's methods, it was no doubt the number one in terms of complexity. The more absurd thing was its activation conditions. Its activation time could not cross 3 breaths. For this, Fang Yuan had to use the supplementary killer move shrink time every time he activated this move. Its side effect was also terrifying. Every time it was used, a portion of the memories related to it would disappear. It was like an eraser, erasing the enemy while consuming itself. After Xianxia was struck, Fang Yuan's mind immediately turned blank, most of the memories of time cutting edge turned vague. At this rate, after I attack Duke Long with it, I will completely lose this move. Fang Yuan's mind was as calm as the snowy plains. He glanced at Duke Long. Without realizing, Duke Long retreated several steps. Boom! A loud sound resounded as Xianxia fell to the ground. Her body returned to its original form in mid-air, turning into a giant green vine. This green vine once held the sky and was like an extremely eye-catching heavenly pillar, but now it collapsed in the immortal graveyard without moving and had no life force. The damage to the immortal graveyard from this crash was much more than the sum of all previous damage, but Duke Long did not care about this. His gaze was fixed on Fang Yuan. He needed to concentrate fully to have a chance at blocking the time-cutting edge that was amplified by at least 1,500 times. In Demon Judgment Board, Fang Zheng's mouth was opened wide and his head was soaked with sweat as he looked at the vast heaven vine that had collapsed on the ground. Qin Dingling, who was behind him, was rigid like a statue. If this move had struck Demon Judgment Board, could we block it? The same doubt flashed in the two's minds, but neither had the confidence to say they could defend against it. This move was too horrifying, one move and it was unknown whether Xianxia was still alive, her aura could not be detected. Don't be terrified, he used Myriad Year Hunting's aura to conceal this move. If he used this move alone, its aura would be too grand and would not be hidden. At the crucial moment, Fairy Ziwei's words spread throughout the battlefield. As expected of a wisdom path great expert. Fang Yuan snorted coldly as the flaw was exposed. Duke Long's expression eased a little. But at the next moment, Fang Yuan left Myriad Year Flying Warship and charged forward alone. He is going all out. Duke Long's heart shook. Immortal Killer Move, Myriad Beings Assimilation Transformation. Immortal Killer Move, Immemorial Sword Dragon. Roar! Fang Yuan immediately transformed into a giant dragon. Immemorial Sword Dragon. The dragon was over 300 meters in length, its two horns were long and sharp, its eyes were silver white, its scales were pure white and emitted dense sword intent. All of Fang Yuan's Dao marks were transformed into sword path Dao marks. And everyone knew that sword path superiority lied in offense. At this moment, Fang Yuan finally showed his strongest attacking form. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1944, Swords Destroy Immortal Graveyard. 1944 Swords Destroy Immortal Graveyard. Roar. The tyrannical immemorial dragon roared as it swung its tail and moved. Its speed was so fast that it left behind a white afterimage at its original spot. Bam! Demon Judgment Board was hit head-on and fell like a meteor. Duke Long immediately rushed forward to reinforce it. Fang Yuan sneered and rose to the air suddenly, leaving behind an afterimage. In the air, he suddenly changed from an extremely active state to extremely still and his aura erupted. Sword Path Killer Move, Triple Layered Sword Wave. The offensive killer move that was amplified by at least 1500 times had power that was completely different from the past. Giant waves surged and filled the battlefield. Every drop of the silver-white waves had sword path strength and was extremely sharp. The sword waves did not target Demon Judgment Board or Duke Long but attacked the Immortal Graveyard. From the start, Fang Yuan's main target was the Immortal Graveyard. Duke Long clenched his teeth as he used self-moving Dragon Chi Wall. The Chi Wall could only hold back the sword waves for 8 breaths of time before crumbling to pieces. Duke Long let out a muffled groan as blood flowed out of his nose. He wanted to continue using the Chi Wall killer move but the towering sword waves had already reached the Immortal Graveyard. Heavenly Court could defend with ease earlier because of Xianxia's space path methods that could shorten and lengthen distance. This gave Duke Long enough time to repeatedly activate Chi Wall to put up defense. But now that Xianxia's vitality was gone and was lying dead on the ground, there was no more protection of space path methods. Duke Long had no time to activate the Chi Wall killer move again. Duke Long was not a rank 9 but a rank 8 like Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's Dao marks far surpassed his and he could only count on Heavenly Dragon's last stand. But regretfully, till now, although Duke Long was becoming stronger constantly, there was still some gap between him and Fang Yuan. Especially when Fang Yuan revealed his trump cards and showed his strongest attacking form. No. Duke Long let out a sad and furious roar as he looked at the sword waves engulf and sweep through the Immortal Graveyard. The Gu Immortals sleeping in the Immortal Graveyard could not resist at all, they were sliced into pieces by the sword waves. Even the enormous vast heaven vine was being cut down repeatedly by the extremely sharp sword waves. Xianxia did not wake up during the whole process, it seemed she was truly dead. Demon Judgment Board rose to the air but Fang Zheng was dazed. He really did it, he destroyed the Immortal Graveyard. The Immortal Graveyard. Compared to Fang Zheng, Fairy Ziwei and Qin Dingling had a greater reaction. They were veteran rank 8s and genuine members of Heavenly Court. The Immortal Graveyard was not just an important area of Heavenly Court, it was even more a spiritual sacred land to them. It was defiled by Fang Yuan now. Countless predecessors sleeping inside were killed like chickens without being able to resist. Fang Yuan, I want you to die. Qin Dingling cried out in sorrow. We have failed you all, seniors. With a loud thud, old man Zheng Yuan fell as he knelt on the ground in Central Great Hall, crying silently. Fairy Ziwei felt her entire body turning numb. The Immortal Graveyard was heavily damaged, and as the leader and planner of Heavenly Court, she could not shirk this responsibility. It's me, I am too incompetent. Tears of sorrow trickled down Fairy Ziwei's face. In Imperfection Regret Pavilion, the images began to fluctuate intensely. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable Silhouette wanted to make a move but was firmly held up by Limitless Demon Venerable Silhouette. She could only stare at Fang Yuan slaughtering Heavenly Court's members and destroying the Immortal Graveyard. Shock and anger filled Star Constellation Silhouette's face, her gaze was icy cold as she looked at her opponent. Good, very good. Limitless Silhouette smiled, this is pretty good. Back when I invaded Heavenly Court, I also wanted to destroy the Immortal Graveyard. But bearing in mind that the scale of variant humans at that time was still enormous, and thinking for the humans, I did not make a move. Humph, so what if you destroyed the immortal graveyard or even the whole of Heavenly Court? As long as you don't destroy Fate Gu, with heavens will continuing to favor humans, Central Continent can still establish a second Heavenly Court, or third or fourth immortal graveyard. Star Constellation Silhouette retorted. You are right. Limitless Demon Venerable Silhouette heaved a sigh. Fate Gu is the fundamental cause of your Heavenly Court. As long as it remains, your Heavenly Court will stand erect no matter how many losses you suffer. Instead, the more you suffer defeat, the tougher you will become, old will be eliminated and new blood will be brought in, you will be closer to the tides of the new era. Eras changed constantly and Gu immortal cultivation also developed without stopping. The prosperity and decline of Chi Path and Strength Path was proof of this. Limitless Demon Venerable had not touched the immortal graveyard back then because of this consideration. It was better to spare the Chi Path and Strength Path Gu immortals who were left behind by the eras than let Heavenly Court bounce back by absorbing large amounts of Rule Path, Wisdom Path, and other paths Gu immortals who would emerge in response to this. I am really curious, how long can you last over there now that the immortal graveyard is destroyed? Limitless Silhouette said with a smile. Star Constellation Silhouette could no longer be indifferent. You are disregarding the big picture and bringing demise to the rule of humanity. You are unworthy of being a human venerable. Limitless Silhouette smiled coldly. My main body was bound by this responsibility back then, but now, hasn't humanity already achieved this goal? Humans should now pursue an even greater goal. You should know what I mean. Star Constellation Silhouette narrowed her eyes, falling into a rare silence. Fang Yuan, I will tear out your tendons and burn you to ashes. Duke Long roared. His anger and hatred had accumulated to an extreme level and he charged towards Fang Yuan without regarding anything. Fang Yuan dodged and did not fight with Duke Long, he continued to activate triple-layered sword wave. Swoosh! 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 The immortal graveyard was completely covered by sword waves, the sword waves even dug into the ground, not letting go of any hibernating immortal. Heavenly Court's millions of years of accumulation was destroyed overnight. Ha! Duke Long's hair was a mess, his face was distorted, and his eyes were bloodshot. Every attack to the immortal graveyard was like a strike to his heart, he was bleeding internally and overwhelmed with grief. Immortal Killer Move, Dragon Offspring. At this critical juncture, Duke Long roared with fury, his purple dragon scales flew out and mixed with his blood, transforming into Dragon Man Gu immortals. They were of all shapes and sizes, with all kinds of appearances. There were rank 6, rank 7, and even rank 8 Dragon Men. Duke Long was not an enslavement path Gu immortal but he had a similar killer move. This is a transformation path killer move that contains human path profundity. Fang Yuan's pupils shrunk as he ridiculed, Duke Long, oh Duke Long, you massacred the Dragon Man race back then, so the reason was to refine them into a killer move. Ha ha ha, how is your action any different from a demonic immortal? You disregarded morals and ethics, you trampled on your own blood and kin. Not only did you kill all your children and grandchildren, you even refined them into puppets to fight for you. Duke Long did not refute Fang Yuan's accusation, deep sadness showed in his eyes as he charged towards Fang Yuan again. At the same time, the large number of Dragon Man Gu immortals spread like a blooming flower, blocking the sword waves as well as countless year beasts. At the level of Duke Long, there were indeed no apparent weaknesses. A huge chaotic battle unfolded in Heavenly Court. Demon Judgment Board was paving paths of blood through the year beast army. But the atmosphere inside Demon Judgment Board was stifling, Qin Dingling and Fang Zheng were both silent. Duke Long's Dragon Offspring killer move was indeed using the members of the Dragon Man race, Fang Yuan's accusation was not false. It was no wonder Duke Long rarely used this move, he was forced to use it now because of Fang Yuan. Many Dragon Man Gu immortals surrounded the immemorial sword dragon. Fang Yuan smiled coldly, he had already activated triple-layered sword wave, he now activated another immortal killer move, Golden Thread Sword. Immediately, the sword dragon's body turned hazy and its every scale emitted soft yellow light. Each scale suddenly shot out a golden thread. The number of scales on the immemorial sword dragon was the number of golden threads shot out, they were incomparably fast. The golden threads pierced every obstacle in their way, the encircling Dragonman Gu immortals resembled honeycombs as the countless golden threads passed them. Bam bam bam. Suffering such a heavy injury, these Dragonman Gu immortals were unable to maintain their shape as they detonated softly, returning to scales and blood droplets. Fang Yuan cleared all the enemies in his surroundings, the sword waves which he had activated just before were still spreading as he rode the waves down. The immortal graveyard was already wiped out, the greatest variable was destroyed, and now, Fang Yuan charged towards Duke Long. Xianxia had no vitality, her vine body was also in a miserable state. Demon Judgment Board was unable to fight Fang Yuan by itself, if Duke Long fell, who could stop Fang Yuan? Immortal Killer Move, 5-Finger Fist Heart Sword. Dragon claws clenched tightly, Fang Yuan's aura suddenly fell to almost a negligible level. However, warning signs were ringing in Duke Long's mind. He shot forward, his purple-gold dragon-shaped chi flickered constantly and his figure appeared and disappeared, moving in all directions as he tried to evade crazily. First Sword. Fang Yuan's dragon pupils let out a strange light as a sword light shot out of his claws. Fast. 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 The sword light's speed was beyond belief. Duke Long had just seen the light shoot out of Fang Yuan's claws when he found the sword light was already in front of him. In an almost impossible situation, he forcibly turned his body to one side. The sword light brushed past him. Blood splattered, a large cut spread from his left shoulder to his left chest. The cut was clean, bones, scales and even a part of the left lung were gone completely. 5-Finger Fist Heart Sword was truly horrifying. If this had struck Duke Long's head, it would have been severed immediately. Since the start of the battle, this was the first time Duke Long felt a fatal threat. It had been a long time since he felt such a feeling. Duke Long gave a loud roar and shot towards Fang Yuan like lightning. Fang Yuan applauded inwardly. Every sword in 5-Finger Fist Heart Sword required time to prepare. Duke Long saw through this weakness and took the chance to attack. Fang Yuan's dragon body moved as he retreated, trying to pull some distance from Duke Long. Sword Path's offensive advantage was obvious, if it were an ordinary opponent, Fang Yuan could directly smash through them. But Duke Long was an extremely powerful expert, he could not be careless. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1945, Combat System. 1945 Combat System. Fang Yuan's immemorial sword dragon form similarly possessed an advantage in speed. Duke Long tried his best in chasing but found that he could not shorten the distance easily. Immortal Killer Move, Dragon Gate. A dragon gate appeared, there were 2 red pillars by the side with a dragon coiling around each of them, their upper body left the pillars and gathered in the middle, forming the top of the gate. The dragon mouths were open with a radiant dragon pearl in each of them, forming a scene of 2 dragons and 2 pearls. 2 dragon gates appeared simultaneously, one appeared in front of Duke Long while the other appeared behind Fang Yuan. Duke Long disappeared into the dragon gate in front of him and appeared from the dragon gate behind Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan's mind rang with warning signals as he dodged immediately, but Duke Long used chi engulfing mountains and rivers to delay his speed. Immortal Killer Move, Chaotic Dragon Fist. At the next moment, Duke Long's fist smashed upon immemorial sword dragon's head and kept on punching it, forcefully knocking Fang Yuan down to the immortal graveyard. Bam! The immemorial sword dragon crashed fiercely on the ground, dust, soil and stones flew everywhere. Although the immemorial sword dragon struggled to raise its head, its claws were still intact and it continued to shoot the second sword light. 5-Finger Fist Heart Sword, Second Sword. Duke Long was already on maximum alert. The moment Fang Yuan moved, he immediately dodged and appeared on Fang Yuan's dragon back. The second sword struck air, brushing past the dragon body and piercing the sky, forming a vacuum along the way. 5-Finger Fist Heart Sword lights were extremely fast but they could not curve. Duke Long might not be able to ward off the sword light but he could dodge. It was somewhat difficult to dodge the sword light, but he could observe Fang Yuan's movement and judge when he was going to use the sword light, and thereby, dodge in advance. Undoubtedly, Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword was an extremely powerful killer move, and it had a huge advantage compared to Time Cutting Edge, it would not be forgotten. But because of Duke Long's proper battle tactic, Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword became useless. Fang Yuan's immemorial sword dragon had to face Duke Long in close combat. In just a dozen or so breaths of time, Fang Yuan had already received many heavy strikes from Duke Long's dragon fists. There had never been a strongest immortal Gu or killer move, only Gu immortal. Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword's most ideal environment was when the first sword was released. Fang Yuan was quite far from Duke Long and could use it for long-range attack while he was in an invulnerable position. Even if Duke Long's reaction was extremely keen, he would be hard-pressed to defend against them, and every sword could push him to a near-death state. But when Duke Long closed in the distance and forced close combat, Fang Yuan's dragon body instead became the obstacle for the sword lights and even became a cover for Duke Long. Looking over the battle, Duke Long could be said to have restrained Fang Yuan's Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword by using Dragon Gate. Without some distance, there was no space to effectively use Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword. So, after the second sword, Fang Yuan immediately stopped using Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword and turned to Golden Thread Sword. Duke Long saw Fang Yuan's dragon scales beginning to flicker with yellow light. He immediately chose to retreat far away with Dragon Gate. Countless golden threads covered every inch around Fang Yuan, but Duke Long had already retreated. But there was no issue. Fang Yuan once again pulled apart some distance between him and Duke Long. He could continue using Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword. Duke Long's situation turned dangerous. He had no choice but to get near Fang Yuan again and attempt close combat. When he approached Fang Yuan would need to cancel Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword and change to other methods to fight Duke Long. This demon has modified Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword to this degree. He can casually cancel the killer move with no backlash. Or should I say that he has modified every sword strike into an individual move. Duke Long's thoughts moved rapidly. Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword was Bo Qing's trump card. How could Heavenly Court not know of it? Duke Long knew a lot of information, and it would have been easily countered if Fang Yuan had not modified it. Duke Long's Dao marks were lower than Fang Yuan, so he could not use defensive killer moves to ward off Fang Yuan's various sword path methods. His best option was to dodge. Fortunately, he had much more battle experience than Fang Yuan. More importantly, as long as he did not die, he would continue to grow stronger along with his shrinking lifespan. Although I modified Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword and am able to cancel it freely, the amount of thoughts required have increased sharply, which makes me unable to use other offensive methods at the same time. The other problem is that Duke Long is getting stronger. Fang Yuan was feeling anxious. Previously, he could suppress Duke Long and Xianxia, mostly because of his battle tactic. Fang Yuan attacked the Immortal Graveyard. Heavenly Court had no choice but to defend with all their strength and take a beating passively. Now, the Immortal Graveyard was destroyed by Fang Yuan. There might be some hibernating Gu immortals still alive in there somewhere, but Duke Long no longer was burdened. Duke Long could now advance or retreat. He immediately showed his true strength and aura in battle. Fang Yuan battled Duke Long, both were in a stalemate. Duke Long was happy to see this, but Fang Yuan was not. So, he turned his head and spat out a waterfall. Immortal killer move, Myriad Thought Sword Waterfall. The sword waterfall crashed down with a huge momentum. Every drop of water was a sword thought. Immortal killer move, Swordsman. Sword thoughts surged and collided, forming human-shaped warriors. They had the appearance of Fang Yuan and were wielding long swords. Countless swordsmen charged forward. Fang Yuan created this move after becoming a human path grandmaster. It contained the profundities of sword path and human path. The moment Duke Long saw this killer move, he retreated. Fang Yuan took the chance to get free and charged towards Heaven Overseeing Tower. Outside Heaven Overseeing Tower, Calamity Luck Altar was destroying the refinement path formation with ease. And inside the tower, Qi Ci Lang was struggling against the remaining jade light on his body. Duke Long paled with fright when he saw Fang Yuan's movement. Demon Judgment Board went forward to block the path but was sent flying by one strike from Fang Yuan. Right at this crucial moment, the sound of singing suddenly appeared in the battlefield and coiled around the immemorial sword dragon's body. Fang Yuan suddenly felt his condition slipping rapidly, like he had returned to the low point of his life where his actions were controlled by others, his talents and ambitions unable to be expressed, his freedom was lost and his future was dark. The immemorial sword dragon's speed fell sharply. Duke Long quickly caught up and blocked Fang Yuan. Great job, Feng Gu. Fairy Zi Wei. At the crucial moment, Feng Ji's destiny song successfully obstructed Fang Yuan. And the one who had guided him in time was Fairy Zi Wei. Fairy Zi Wei had opened Central Heaven Gate. This immortal Gu house was the gateway to Heavenly Court. It had the ability to transport people, but it was far inferior to the enormous teleportation Gu formation and was only for convenience. Destiny Song continued. Fang Yuan's battle strength kept falling while Duke Long's strengths kept increasing. Boom boom boom. The immemorial sword dragon was beaten back repeatedly by Duke Long and had no way to approach Heaven Overseeing Tower. Since the battle started, this was the first time Fang Yuan fell into such a disadvantage. With no other choice, he stopped all sword path killer moves and began preparing reverse flow protection seal. Duke Long saw him retreating and his aura fluctuating. He immediately knew Fang Yuan was preparing some other killer move, but why would he give him the chance? Duke Long roared. The purple gold dragon-shaped chi around him chased and attacked Fang Yuan like a storm. Fang Yuan's immemorial sword dragon body was lacerated with scales and blood flying everywhere. What was even more terrifying was Duke Long's that chaotic dragon fist could disturb thoughts, causing Fang Yuan's killer moves to fail when activating. At this difficult time, Fang Yuan opened his immortal aperture slightly and released the accumulated Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique bodies. Pure Dream Reality Seeker physique bodies flew towards Duke Long and self-detonated. Duke Long was extremely wary and dodged immediately, stopping his offenses. Fang Yuan got some time and successfully activated Reverse Flow Protection Seal. Duke Long could not help but sigh when he saw this move. The timing just now was perfect, but he did not grab it. He had exchanged many moves with Fang Yuan and saw through Fang Yuan's fighting style. When Fang Yuan transformed into an immemorial beast or plant using the transformation path killer move, he could also transform all his Dao marks into the same path. On such a basis, any killer move he used would have amplified strength. Even rank 7 killer moves would be able to threaten rank 8s. Fang Yuan had many methods. It was very difficult to imagine that he had accumulated and cultivated them to such a degree in less than 100 years. Even if he had venerable inheritances, it was still a shocking achievement. Duke Long was certain, as long as Fang Yuan had enough time, he could reach an unprecedented height. Fortunately, Fate Gu's recovery was the crucial point and Fang Yuan had no choice but to invade Heavenly Court in advance. Fang Yuan might be able to rely on some profound and terrifying methods to win against most of the enemies in the world. But facing an existence like Duke Long, a few methods were far from enough. He also needed a combat system that was sufficiently powerful and stable, with ample trump cards. Just like Duke Long, his transformation path and chi path methods formed two sets of combat systems. 9 Dragons Protection formed powerful defense. Clear Dragon Vision was used for scouting, Dragon Claw Strike, Chaotic Dragon Fist, Spiraling Dragon Fangs, and World-Shaking Dragon Hammer were in charge of offense. These 4 methods covered close, mid-range, and long-range combat. World-Shaking Dragon Hammer was even more powerful and had the strength to turn around a situation. Dragon Roaring Wave and Body Flicker were standard movement methods, and there was also Dragon Gate for long-distance movement. Dragon Offspring made up for the lack of capability to fight a group. In this combat system, the strongest method was Heavenly Dragon's Last Stand. As for his Chi Path system, there was Chi Wall and Self-Moving Dragon Chi Wall as defensive methods, Chi Breath Mountain, Hidden Dragon Chi Explosion, Chi Engulfing Mountains and Rivers, Great Chi Hand Explosion, and Chi Current Scissors were offensive killer moves. Compared to his transformation path system, these offensive methods had much more obvious long-range power. Purple Gold Dragon-shaped Chi was a jack of all trades. This killer move was so excellent that it provided help to Duke Long in all aspects. Naturally, its most important use was still for movement. Reverse Worm Dragon was a killer move that was specially prepared to target battlefield killer moves. The trump card of this Chi Path combat system was Triple Chi Retraction. Duke Long's two combat systems included all aspects like offense, defense, movement, and so on. They also did not have weaknesses or gaps in the various aspects. What was remarkable was these two battle styles could complement each other. For instance, Transformation Path's offensive methods were stronger in close and mid-range combat, while weak in long-range combat. Meanwhile, Chi Path's offensive methods were the exact opposite. Comparatively, there was no need for many trump cards. One for each system, two methods were enough. In a real battle, the most useful were still those standard killer moves. For example, Duke Long had Triple Chi Retraction, but he had not used it once in the fight with Fang Yuan. The battle was extremely fierce and Fang Yuan was not stupid enough to give Duke Long the opportunity to use it. Another example was Fang Yuan's Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword. This was a trump card method. But even though Fang Yuan used it, the effect was not decisive for the battle. Duke Long was still able to maintain the stalemate, and it was essentially because his combat systems were even more comprehensive than Fang Yuan's. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1946, Z-Way, S Eerie Change. 1946 Z-Way, S Eerie Change. How many combat systems did Fang Yuan have? From what Duke Long saw, Fang Yuan only had two mature combat systems. One was Time Path, and the other was Sword Path. The Time Path system was the most comprehensive: 3 breaths Future Vision, Year Beast Summoning, Myriad Year Flying Warship, Spring Scissors, Winter Coat, Autumn Perception, Summer Fan, as well as Spring Plowing, Summer Hoeing, Autumn Harvest, Winter Storage, and so on. Covered the two main domains of battle and immortal aperture management. There were two trump cards: Time Cutting Edge that was combined with Shrink Time, and the other was Spring Autumn Success, the core of which was Spring Autumn Cicada. Sword Path had Immemorial Sword Dragon Transformation, Triple Layered Sword Wave, Golden Thread Sword, Dark Assassination, Myriad Thought Sword Waterfall, Swordsman, and other methods. Its trump card was Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword. This combat system took offense to the extreme, being even more powerful than Time Path style in this aspect, especially Five-Finger Fist Heart Sword, which was modified by Fang Yuan. But there was nothing to commend about it in other fields. Duke Long's combat systems were much superior in terms of movement, healing, and other aspects. This formed shortcomings. In front of an enemy with extremely rich battle experience like Duke Long, these shortcomings turned into weaknesses which held back the offensive prowess of the Sword Path system. Besides these two systems, Fang Yuan had many Chi Path methods as well, but as far as Duke Long was concerned, it was incomplete. Unlimited Chi C was clearly a trump card with a power that could break the primordial Chi wall, but it had not been used after the first time, and it looked like the possibility of it being used again was low. In the Soul Path aspect, Duke Long knew Fang Yuan had plenty of methods, and the trump card killer move was no doubt Luo Pasil. But Heavenly Court and Duke Long had already made sufficient preparations for this. Fang Yuan not using any Soul Path methods from the start was a wise move. Besides these, Reverse Flow Protection Seal was of Rule Path, Myriad Self was Human Path, Strength Path Giant Hand belonged to Strength Path, Familiar Face was Transformation Path, Lead Soul into Dream, Pure Dream Reality Seeker Transformation, and Switch Soul and Dream were Dream Path killer moves. These methods were terrifying, but they were all independent moves resembling large pearls, while a mature combat system was a pearl necklace formed from methods that complemented each other. This necklace formed from small pearls was more valuable than the large pearls. Against most Gu immortals, Fang Yuan could rely on the large pearls to change the situation and determine victory. But in front of Duke Long, the weaknesses of Fang Yuan's combat systems became conspicuous. Fang Yuan, what you lack is time, and I believe you have already felt it. It is such a pity. A mature combat system needs at least a few hundred years of accumulation. Duke Long looked at Fang Yuan, his gaze sharp as blade. Even if you use the inheritances left by predecessors to hasten your growth, it is still not perfect enough. He activated spiraling dragon fangs to attack Fang Yuan from a distance, but they were blocked by reverse flow protection seal. Duke Long was not discouraged. Reverse flow protection seal was quite powerful, but it lacked a mature style to support it and make up for its weakness. Reverse flow protection seal's greatest weakness was that it expended reverse flow river. Despite Fang Yuan conserving it as much as possible after his rebirth, how could it endure such intense expenditure? Reverse flow protection seal was an immortal killer move that used reverse flow river as the core. Its defensive strength was terrifying and could reflect almost all external attacks. This move was created by Fang Yuan, from which one could see his astonishing talents. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan lacked a stable combat system for this trump card. For instance, supplementary defensive killer moves to defend and reduce external attacks, or a killer move to increase the power of reverse flow protection seal, or methods to restore reverse flow river itself. Suppose reverse flow protection seal was a fish with exquisite flavor. Although it would be a delicacy even if it was eaten raw, if it was seasoned with salt, it could be turned into salted fish that could be stored for a long time. If it was accompanied with other ingredients like sugar, ginger, spring onion, or garlic, it could turn into all kinds of delicious meals, providing much more flavors. Compared to Heavenly Court and Duke Long, Fang Yuan's accumulation was still insufficient. He could not avoid falling into a predicament. Duke Long attacked again and again while enduring reverse flow protection seal's backlash, forcefully expending reverse flow river. His healing methods were also extraordinary. Feng Jiuji's Destiny Song was shrouding over Fang Yuan all the time. Destiny Song interchanged between strong and weak, triggering counterattacks from reverse flow protection seal. The profundities of the song actually weakened Fang Yuan even with reverse flow protection seal activated, but the weakening was much smaller. What was even worse was that Destiny Song weakened Fang Yuan while amplifying Duke Long's strength. Duke Long's battle strength soared, growing increasingly stronger. He had the complete upper hand and his attacks were like tidal waves, showing extreme power. Fang Yuan cancelled Immemorial Sword Dragon transformation and returned to his human form. The Sword Dragon's body was enormous. Using reverse flow protection seal on it expended reverse flow river much faster. It was much more steady with a human body. Fang Yuan counterattacked continuously using pure dream reality seeker physique bodies. But soon, these pure dream reality seeker physique bodies were also targeted. They detonated and turned into dream realms. The dream realms then transformed back into new pure dream reality seeker physique bodies which fought for Heavenly Court. It was Feng Jin Huang. Fairy Ziwei had not only recalled Feng Jiugu through Central Heaven Gate, she had also recalled Feng Jin Huang. With her here, Fang Yuan's dream path methods would be highly restrained. Sure enough, Fang Yuan's dream path methods were all targeted and dealt with. Feng Jin Huang. Fang Yuan frowned inwardly. In the previous life, she used the Immortal Gu formation to activate Immortal level dream path killer move and spoiled my plan. And now, she is using Immortal formation or an Immortal Gu house to target me once again. Fang Yuan really wanted to find her precise location and deal with her, but he did not have the freedom to do so at this moment. He was not even able to approach Heaven Overseeing Tower, becoming further and further away from it. The reason was that his opponents were Duke Long and Feng Jiugu. The current and previous Dao Guardians had joined hands. As for Fang Zhang and Qin Dingling and Demon Judgment Board, they were no longer able to interfere and began to deal with the year beasts and swordsmen that were all over Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court's main force also started returning to Heavenly Court from Hairy Foot Mountain through Central Heaven Gate and joined in the clearing up work. Year beasts and swordsmen were not their opponents and were defeated again and again. Calamity Luck Altar was the focus of the joint attacks of Heavenly Court's main force. Some even entered Heaven Overseeing Tower. Qi Ci Lang could not move properly, his situation turning perilous. Not good. Heavenly Court's main force has returned. Doesn't this mean infallible blessed land has lost its purpose? Heavenly Court possesses enough success Dao marks and can restore fate completely. Fang Yuan's face was grim. Bad news was coming one after the other, and the situation was turning extremely disadvantageous and dangerous. Fairy Ziwei, use benevolent equality quickly, his reverse flow protection seal will shatter soon. Duke Long transmitted his voice. Yes. At this moment, Fairy Ziwei had already stabilized her injuries and could battle again. She activated an immortal Gu house and flew to the sky. Her sight contained Duke Long, Fang Yuan, as well as Feng Jiu Gu and the rest. Immortal Killer Move, Benevolent Equality. Benevolent Equality activated successfully. Fang Yuan won't be able to escape this time. Fairy Ziwei transmitted her voice. Good job, Ziwei. Duke Long laughed heartily and his attacks became more violent. Fang Yuan was forced to retreat again and again. It is useless now, Fang Yuan, no matter how you persist, you will still be defeated. Fairy Ziwei smiled. But at the next moment, she heard a female voice, is that so? Who said that? Fairy Ziwei was shocked. This voice was familiar and yet strange. What made her shocked was she had never detected any Gu immortal existences near her. What are you looking for? I am you. Fairy Ziwei was horrified to discover that she was actually replying to herself. What is going on? My body is actually out of control. Soul, there is an issue with my soul. Suddenly, the eerie light in her pupils grew and spread rapidly. The white part of her eyes were completely covered and turned pitch black. Fairy Ziwei struggled and resisted with all her strength, but it was all in vain. In her last moment of clarity, she suddenly realized, she was controlled by Spectral Soul. Every time she soul-searched Spectral Soul, her soul had actually been tampered with slowly. Spectral Soul's methods were too advanced, she had not been able to detect it at all. She had already been corroded and infiltrated by Spectral Soul's power. The various decisions she made before Central Continent's Refinement Path Convention also had Spectral Soul's influence in them. It was just that Spectral Soul's interference was small at the start. But later on, this secret influence kept on growing. And now, he could even cause Fairy Ziwei to be under an illusion. Just earlier, Fairy Ziwei had not used Benevolent Equality, but she thought she had already successfully activated it and even informed Duke Long. Maybe in the previous life too, I was taken over like this by Spectral Soul. Although I have Benevolent Equality, I did not truly use it. This was the last clear thought of Fairy Ziwei. At the next moment, she slowly raised her head and looked at the battlefield quietly with a black light in her eyes. Her lips curled up to form an extremely sinister smile. She maintained the opening of Central Heaven Gate while approaching Soul Suppression Hall quietly. She had the clearest picture of the locations here. She quickly cleared all kinds of shackles and restored Spectral Soul's freedom. Ziwei pays respects to Master. She knelt down and prostrated before Spectral Soul with not even a trace of pride of a Heavenly Court member. Spectral Soul was extremely weak. He turned into a translucent soul sphere which slowly floated towards Fairy Ziwei. Let's go watch the show first. Fairy Ziwei held the soul sphere in both hands and walked out of Soul Suppression Hall. At this moment, Wu Yong, Wu Shuai, and others also appeared in Heavenly Court's battlefield. What's going on? Fairy Ziwei. Duke Long roared. Central Heaven Gate was still being activated and actually brought these enemies as well. Duke Long was unable to contact Fairy Ziwei. His heart sank and he wanted to directly destroy Central Heaven Gate. But at this moment, Fang Yuan charged towards Heaven Overseeing Tower again. Duke Long was seething with anger, but he was forced to intercept Fang Yuan and give up on his previous plan. Gu immortals entered one by one through Central Heaven Gate. Follow Lord Wu Yong. So Heavenly Court actually looks like this. Kill. 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 Heaven Overseeing Tower is there, follow me. The final decisive battle unfolded in Heavenly Court. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1947, Paradise Earth Takes Action. 1947 Paradise Earth Takes Action. Come, take a look, this is high-grade silk. Candied fruits, buy 3 sticks and get 1 free. Sir, what do you need? Inside a store that sold Gu worms, a clerk welcomed Hong Yi passionately. Hong Yi first fixed his gaze on this clerk before carefully scanning the layout and decoration of the store. He frowned on the inside. Everything here is so lifelike. What is going on? I heard you have Scholar Gu for sale. Hong Yi asked. Oh, yes. But Lord, this Scholar Gu is a rank 5 Gu worm. The clerk was somewhat hesitant. Hong Yi smiled lightly and released his rank 5 Gu master aura, immediately causing a huge disturbance in the store. The clerk's face was filled with shock. The store manager was also drawn in by the aura. He cupped his hands and greeted Hong Yi respectfully, personally taking out a Scholar Gu for him to observe. It is indeed Scholar Gu. Hong Yi examined it carefully for a while, the doubts in his heart growing deeper. May I test it? Go ahead, sir. The store manager immediately gave Scholar Gu to Hong Yi. Hong Yi poured his primeval essence into Scholar Gu. This Scholar Gu immediately flew out from Hong Yi's finger and landed on the ground, turning into a young handsome scholar. The young scholar bowed respectfully towards Hong Yi with cupped fists. Student greets teacher. Hong Yi nodded in excitement. Scholar Gu was extremely rare. It was a human path Gu worm, and Hong Yi had only heard of it in rumors. Hong Yi took out a wisdom path mortal Gu and an information path mortal Gu from his aperture, throwing them to the scholar. Use them. The scholar received these 2 Gu worms and used them without any need for gaining familiarity, and he used them rather proficiently at that. In particular, some small habits during the activation were the same as Hong Yi's. What do you think, sir? The store manager asked with a smile. Hong Yi nodded repeatedly. Great, I want this Gu. The store manager was exulted. Great, it will be 600,000 primeval stones. Hong Yi's brows furrowed. This price was not expensive, in fact, it was too cheap. The price for a rank 5 mortal Gu ranged from 100,000 to 1 million primeval stones, but this Scholar Gu was a rare top-quality rank 5 Gu. Its price was definitely above 1 million. Moreover, there was no market for it, so it was difficult to get even with sufficient funds. But it was being sold for only 600,000 primeval stones here. Hong Yi had many fortuitous encounters and was wealthy. He immediately paid the sum and received this Scholar Gu. Coming outside the store, Hong Yi's heart was fluctuating with waves. This place is like Emperor City, but weren't there immortal battles going on around Emperor City? But this place is peaceful. What is going on? Also, there doesn't seem to be any difference between here and reality, but looking carefully, there are a large number of human path Gu worms here. Scholar Gu is only one of them. Moreover, there are so many human path Gu worms here that it can even be called overflowing, but it is commonplace to these people. And the common fire path, water path, and other paths Gu worms are instead rare here. It seems like human path is the main cultivation path here. Really strange. I wonder what Brother Yi found on his end. I better go join him quickly. After Yi Fan and Hong Yi were sent to the painting by Genesis Lotus's will, they split up to explore the area after discussing with each other. Hong Yi's discovery was also discovered by Yi Fan. But at this moment, in the corner of a street, Yi Fan saw an unexpected person. Master. Yi Fan was astonished. He had also bought a rank 5 human path Gu worm from a store. It was called Hero Gu. He had just come to a corner to activate it, and the situation became different from when he activated it in the store. Hero Gu actually transformed into his master's appearance. No need to be shocked, my disciple. This is our chance encounter. Lu Wei-yin smiled. Yi Fan immediately understood the meaning behind the words and was joyous. Master, you know the oddity of this place. What place is this? Why did we suddenly end up in this place? Lu Wei-yin smiled lightly. I need to explain from the beginning. 300,000 years ago, in the medieval antiquity era, Central Continent gave birth to an immortal venerable named Genesis Lotus. He created the killer move Karma Divine Tree, and when he roamed Western Desert, he refused a child's request to resurrect his parents. As a result, he saw a certain scene in the future where Emperor City was destroyed by an earth trench and all lives were extinguished. Therefore, he placed Divine Bean Palace in Western Desert. When he returned to Central Continent later, he used the painting path killer move Contented Lifestyle on Emperor City, forming a painting world. You too have your luck connected to Fang Yuan tightly. Genesis Lotus's will was wary and thus it locked you in here. Yi Fan was dumbstruck. The wealth of information made him unable to react for a while. He was extremely shaken. This matter is actually related to Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable. Also Master, when did I connect luck with Feng Yuan? That was done by Feng Yuan secretly. He wanted to accomplish something with the help of your luck. The upper extreme heavenly eagle was also his immemorial desolate beast. Lu Wei-yin replied calmly. Feng Yuan took the initiative to connect luck with me to get help from my luck. Yi Fan was even more shocked. Yi Fan had acknowledged Lu Wei-yin as his master and was thus half a step into the Gu immortal world, and knew much more secrets than Hong Yi. He was extremely clear on what kind of big shot Feng Yuan was. Feng Yuan was an unparalleled demon, a powerful character that even Heavenly Court was without options against. He was actually connected to him. This was simply like a fairy tale. Lu Wei-yin shook his head. Disciple, don't look down on yourself. You are a person favored by the heavenly Tao. You possess an innately strong luck. Although you are insignificant at the start, you will definitely make huge accomplishments in the future. In the entire 5 regions, there are not even 10 people with luck like yours. It is not strange for Feng Yuan to want to get help from your luck. However, the heavenly Tao balances everything. He once used your luck and obtained great benefits. Now, you are also using him to obtain an enormous immortal fortune. The upper extreme heavenly eagle was only one of them. In front of you now is Genesis Lotus True Inheritance. Genesis Lotus True Inheritance? Yi Fan exclaimed in shock once again. He suddenly understood and his gaze towards Lu Wei-yin changed. Master, you know all this like the back of your hand. Does this mean this was all your plan? Huh, my disciple, you overestimate me. This was all Lord Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable's arrangement. I am only his inheritor. When Yi Fan heard the great name of Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, he realized he had also become a follower of Paradise Earth, but he did not feel exalted as he was already numb from the shock. Lu Wei-yin waved at Yi Fan. We don't have much time, we will talk as we move. Yi Fan quickly followed. The two followed the crowd in the street and walked towards the front. Lu Wei-yin explained in detail. This Genesis Lotus True Inheritance has extremely high value. It is divided into 3 parts. The first part is this contented lifestyle killer move, the second part is the luck of being the child of humanity, and the third part is the rank 8 immortal Gu house formed from Divine Being Palace and Emperor City, Divine Emperor Palace. Lu Wei-yin continued after a slight pause. We will first take the second part and make you the child of humanity. Yi Fan questioned, Master, what is the child of humanity? What should I do? Lu Wei-yin replied, Central Continent is different from the other 4 regions, it uses the sect system and human path is most prosperous here with the deepest foundation. Emperor City is the greatest congregation of Central Continent's human vein. Why do countless geniuses emerge here? It is because of the human vein. As long as you absorb the strength within the human vein, your luck will get a huge boost and you will gain the favor of human path, becoming the child of humanity. And to achieve this, we need Hong Yi's help. Hong Yi. He is my sworn brother, how is this connected to him? Yi Fan continued to be shocked. Lu Wei-yin replied, Feng Yuan connected luck with him as well, but his luck is different from yours. You are the favored child of the heavenly Tao while he is one of the children of humanity of Central Continent. He is favored by human path. With his help, you can smoothly make use of Xianxia's actions and quietly obtain the recognition of the human vein. With the status of a child of humanity, we can then borrow Feng Yuan's strength to attempt to get the first part of the true inheritance, or even the third part as well. Divine Being Palace, Painting World. Feng Yuan, Feng Yuan. A voice was heard intermittently in Feng Dichang's ears. Feng Dichang had already stopped using Karma Divine Tree and was using Wisdom Path Killer moves to think of how to get rid of this predicament when he heard this voice. It is Xianxia's voice. He learned of my identity from the main body. Feng Dichang hesitated. He had some guesses in his mind but he did not respond immediately. Sure enough, Xianxia's voice continued to transmit. Feng Dichang, I already learned of your true identity from your main body. Who could have thought Feng Yuan had such an arrangement? He actually placed his clone inside a Western Desert superforce. I am going to help you escape. How are you going to help me? Feng Dichang was puzzled. Xianxia laughed. You should know that I have been trying to decipher the venerable human path methods and I have already found the key to them. I know. Fang Dichang nodded. Xianxia continued, Divine Bean Palace and Emperor City have merged into one. I have all along been hiding myself and haven't let Genesis Lotus will discover me, so I am still deciphering human path killer moves. Fang Dichang asked, and what about them? Xianxia explained patiently, this is a perfect opportunity. I have been constantly transferring the 4 regions human will inside here. Originally, I had been unable to involve myself with Emperor City and disrupt the venerable methods from inside, so I had to infiltrate it quietly. But now, Divine Bean Palace and Emperor City have merged. You previously refined Divine Bean Palace, it is just that your authority is lower than Genesis Lotus will. Use your Karma Divine Tree Killer move to shake the whole Immortal Gu house and coordinate with me to spread out the venerable method so that everyone's power is amplified. You want me to cooperate with you to break the venerable human path methods? Fang Dichang got to the point. Xianxia laughed, we are helping each other. Alright, I'll work with you. Fang Dichang did not hesitate, agreeing directly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1948, Restoration halted. 1948 Restoration halted. Heavenly Court's battlefield. Immortal Killer Move, Finger Wind Dragon. Wu Yong activated his killer move but was met with the joint attack of 3 Heavenly Court members. Die, Wu Yong. Prince Feng Xian used inexhaustible flames that charged ahead while he stood behind, covered in flames. His offensive attack also had defensive properties, it was a stable choice of attack. Zhou Xianxia attacked from behind, the killer move rumors become tigers roared, like a group of tigers that pounced towards Wu Yong. And Yi Xiaozi activated long-range killer moves, vines grew out of thin air and spread towards Wu Yong, trying to bind him. Wu Yong sighed internally, he had to retreat repeatedly. He moved back into clear jade dripping wind tiny bamboo building. With the help of the Immortal Gu house, he resisted the fierce attacks of the 3 immortals. But as such, his plan to approach Heaven Overseeing Tower was stopped. The amplification of the human path killer moves to Heavenly Court is too big, wait a moment, this is. Just as Wu Yong was getting a headache, specks of white lights appeared on clear jade dripping wind tiny bamboo building and even entered his body. Human path killer move, Hope of the People. Human path killer move, Heroes among People. All. Inside the Immortal Gu house, other southern border Gu immortals beside Wu Yong were roaring with vitality. This strength, this strength. Old Treeman Bada, who was fighting outside, looked at his own hands with shock. Transformation Path Great Expert Yi Hao Fong was similarly puzzled, why are Heavenly Court's human path killer moves helping us? This heavy doubt was pressing down on the Heavenly Court Gu immortals' minds like a mountain. Xianxia, you really didn't let down my expectations, great job. Fang Yuan laughed heartily, he had also received the amplification and his condition was improving rapidly. Duke Long's face was ashen. He was a dragon man, a variant human, he could not receive the amplification of heroes among people unlike Fang Yuan. When Fang Yuan returned to his human form, even if it was created with sovereign immortal fetus Gu, it was still a pure human. Boom! Duke Long was sent flying by Fang Yuan. What in the world is going on? Qin Dingling transmitted her voice to Old Man Jing Yuan, asking him anxiously. Old Man Jing Yuan was not dead yet and had already moved out of Central Great Hall. He was all along responsible for activating the human path methods left behind by Central Continent's venerables. The old man transmitted his panicked reply to Duke Long, Qin Dingling and the rest, there is a problem in Emperor City. Someone is causing trouble, he poured in the human will of other 4 regions into Central Continent. Hope of the People and heroes among people distinguish allies based on human will. There was only Central Continent's human will previously, but now the human wills of all 5 regions are gathered, so everyone will receive amplification. Duke Long warded off Fang Yuan's attacks while asking, how can we resolve this issue? Old Man Jing Yuan replied with a heavy voice, I am giving it my all but I don't have any confidence in succeeding. Duke Long's heart sank further. Who could have tampered with our venerable human path methods to this degree? He had never imagined the venerable human path killer moves to have such changes. The enemy did not break these two killer moves directly but instead expanded the effectiveness of the killer moves to everyone. This was no different from breaking them. Is it Xianxia? The soul sphere in Fairy Ziwei's hands shook lightly as if it was laughing to itself. Back then, the information Fairy Ziwei had given to Duke Long contained details of Xianxia's location. This action was made under Spectral Soul's influence. Duke Long, however, had full trust in Fairy Ziwei. Moreover, at that time, Fang Zheng had been detained by Shen Songsheng and had to be exchanged for urgently, thus there was the series of later events. In the end, Xianxia left Dragon Whale Paradise, infiltrated Emperor City and achieved this accomplishment. Perhaps I should say, this is worthy of Paradise Earth. The Soul Sphere shook once again. Fairy Ziwei was holding the Soul Sphere and continuously using Wisdom Path methods to imitate Soul Path and heal the Soul Sphere. The Soul Sphere was becoming increasingly solid under her healing. On the other side, Central Heaven Gate was still open, bringing in Gu immortals from the outside world into Heavenly Court. Haha, bring all those people in, let them kill, let them die. The more they kill the better it is, the more deaths there are the better this is, ha ha ha. The Soul Sphere laughed madly. The first batch who came were the southern border immortals in Hairy Foot Mountain, as well as Wu Shuai, Zhan Budu, and others. Right now, the second batch of Gu immortals was teleported over. They were Northern Plains reinforcements who allied with Southern Borders group in the previous life. The leader was an old man with a walking stick, Yao Huang. As well as Heavenly Lord Baizu who was walking forward proudly. Behind the two great rank 8 Gu immortals were Domination Immortal Chu Du who was famous throughout the 5 regions, Black Extremity Sun Ming Lu who schemed against old ancestor Shui Hu, as well as other Gu immortal experts. Rank 7 Gu immortals will enter immortal Gu houses. Yao Huang swept his gaze around the battlefield and gave the command. Even Chu Du had to listen obediently. He was shaken by the fierce battle in front. This battle was not something rank 7s could interfere in. Northern Plains had few immortal Gu houses, but they brought over 3 this time. Follow me, we will reinforce Calamity Luck Altar. Heavenly Lord Baizu took the lead to charge forward. Yao Huang and the 3 immortal Gu houses followed closely behind. Bing Sai Chuan cheered loudly inside Calamity Luck Altar. His attacks towards the Refinement Path formation were obstructed by the golden pearls left by Golden Pearl Immortal King. And now, he was being besieged from all directions by Heavenly Court's main force. Bing Sai Chuan was attacking the Refinement Path formation while repairing Calamity Luck Altar. He needed help and this batch of reinforcements came at a perfect timing. Kill! Heavenly Lord Baizu shouted. His figure shook and split into countless clones that fought against the soldiers formed from the golden pearls. Yao Huang did not want to appear weak. He waved his cane. A strong medicinal fragrance pervaded the battlefield immediately. The 3 immortal Gu houses also arrived and defended Calamity Luck Altar. Heavenly Court's main force was immediately divided. Don't even dream of leaving. Wu Yong used killer moves one after another. Wishful Wind Whip, Soft Vajra Wind Chief, Yin Wind Rope and many others were used alternatively to tie down the enemies. Ba De, Yi Hao Fang and others also mimicked this. Damn it! Most of Heavenly Court's main force could only curse inwardly as they were pinned down. If it were before, the southern border immortals would never have been able to pose such troubles, but with heroes among people's support now, Wu Yong and others were amplified. Overall, they were still weaker than Heavenly Court's members. After all, the latter were elites in rank 8, but it was still enough for them to become a threat. Charge! Dragon Palace crashed through the battlefield. Wu Shuai and Zhan Budu were controlling it from inside. Feng Jiugu had to avoid the collision. Destiny Song slowed down. Fang Yuan immediately felt the suppression on him receding sharply, and adding on the amplification from heroes among people, he sent Duke Long flying once again. Dragon tattoos wriggled around Duke Long. Dragon fangs flew around and obstructed the incoming attacks. Suddenly, a huge figure appeared. This is... Duke Long's pupils shrank rapidly as he saw the giant figure. Evil Dragon, Di Zongsheng had taken the stage. Duke Long. Di Zongsheng spoke human voice, its roar gave rise to endless shock waves. It slammed down its claws on Duke Long like he was a ball. Di Zongsheng's claws were cut by the dragon fangs and dripped with blood, while Duke Long collided into the ground, creating a 100-feet deep crater. Di Zongsheng's enormous body pressed down. Rumble. The entirety of Heavenly Court shook violently, smoke and dust flew, covering the whole battlefield. Di Zongsheng flew up slowly, the ground that its stomach pressed on had already formed a shallow trench that spanned from the east to west of Heavenly Court. All the buildings, mountains and rivers in its path were turned into waste. He is above. Zhan Budu suddenly pointed. Duke Long was floating in the air, looking down at Di Zongsheng. The dragon gate behind him disappeared slowly. At the crucial moment, he had escaped the dangerous situation by using Dragon Gate. This evil dragon. Duke Long clenched his teeth, his sunken chest bulged up rapidly and soon recovered to its previous state. Clearly, Di Zongsheng's attack had not been without effect. On the other side, Myriad Your flying warship flew back and took in Fang Yuan again. Fang Yuan looked at Duke Long and sneered. He directly ignored him and charged towards Heaven Overseeing Tower. Duke Long's eyelids twitched at this sight. The force at Heaven Overseeing Tower's side was barely resisting Calamity Luck Altar and was on the verge of collapse. If Fang Yuan and Myriad Your flying warship joined, the situation would directly collapse. Fang Yuan, don't even think about it. Everyone gather and protect Heaven Overseeing Tower. Duke Long sent his command. He himself was the first to move as he used Dragon Gate and blocked the path of Myriad Your flying warship. Get lost. Dragon Palace came to reinforce. Its owner Wu Shuai was resolute and direct. He released the suppressed Jun Shenguang and Vortex Space Boy, and thus could activate the killer move Dreamy Light Smoke again. Dreamy Light Smoke engulfed Duke Long. Duke Long's heart pounded crazily. He had no choice but to dodge, leaving behind a path through which Fang Yuan moved forward. Damn it, this is a dream path killer move, my methods are useless. In a corner far away, Feng Jin Huang was hiding in an inconspicuous Immortal Gu house, stomping her feet in anxiety. Right at this time, Destiny Song reverberated through the battlefield once again. Heavenly Court's condition rose rapidly and Duke Long also received great benefits, while Fang Yuan and the group's offenses immediately weakened. Unbelievable, we entered Heavenly Court. 8 Eastern Sea Immortals joined the battlefield through Central Heaven Gate. Heavenly Court side is being besieged. The 8 Immortals' eyes brightened, especially when they saw Fang Yuan, Di Zongsheng, Myriad Your flying warship, and Dragon Palace forcing back Duke Long and Feng Gu. Good, we will join and deal the final blow to them. The 8 Immortals' morale soared as they joined the chaotic battle. How did they come here? Fang Yuan was slightly surprised. Zhang Yin, Granny Rong and the other dragon generals joining the battle was a given, but Qin Yuan and the rest were very conservative. Why would they take risk in joining the battle? This is the side effect of heroes among people. When they received the amplification, they also received the influence of the 4 regions' human will and hate Heavenly Court even more now. Xianxia's voice transmitted over. A pity that Western Desert side is still in a stalemate against Central Continent's Immortal Gu houses and cannot participate in this battle. Xianxia, well done. Fang Yuan did not hesitate to praise. Xianxia laughed heartily, naturally. But then again, you being able to control Central Heaven Gate was truly beyond my expectation. This move was truly spectacular. Ah, I can also feel Central Heaven Gate's transportation power. We will join in a while and flip Heavenly Court upside down, hahaha. Fang Yuan only smiled, then come fast. Central Heaven Gate's change was beyond Fang Yuan's expectations, but why would he cut himself short at this time? Even if someone was scheming from the dark, Fang Yuan would only follow the tides and prioritize in defeating Heavenly Court as well as destroying Fate Gu. Damn it, why at this time? Just as Xianxiang was about to accept the transportation, black fire appeared on his body. His internal threat had erupted again. I used all my strength to decipher the venerable killer moves and my injuries were left unattended. This was Xianxiang's last clear thought before he sank into madness and chaos. The moment Xianxia turned mad, old man Jing Yuan sensed it. The old man's spirit was roused, the enemy's strength has disappeared. Regardless of the reason, I can use this chance to take control again, and there is even a chance to turn around the situation. Who is it? Old man Jing Yuan suddenly shouted. Fairy Ziwei appeared in front of him with empty hands and a smile on her face. Ziwei. No, you are not normal. The old man's eyes shone sharply as he quickly retreated. But at the next moment, a solid pitch-black soul sphere appeared behind him and entered his body. No. Old man Jing Yuan seemed to have suffered a heavy attack as he collapsed on the ground, his eyes rolled and saliva foamed from his mouth while his body quivered continuously. The twitching lasted for a while before old man Jing Yuan became still all of a sudden. His eyes were the same as Fairy Ziwei, turning completely black. He stood up silently and wiped off the saliva. He lowered his hands and greeted the floating soul sphere respectfully. This old servant pays respects to master. Spectral Soul let out a light grunt of agreement. He did not have any immortal goo currently, but he was not without methods. The soul beast modification killer move he developed in the past had already become a type of innate ability of his soul. This innate ability could let him modify any soul and make the target offer their complete loyalty. Now, we should subdue Feng Jin Huang. I know her location as well and can also cut off that immortal goo house's teleportation ability. Fairy Ziwei said of her own initiative. No hurry. Spectral Soul, however, rejected her suggestion. Feng Jin Huang is not only favored by the heavenly Tao, she also receives the adoration of humanity itself. Her luck is strong enough to be second only to Red Lotus Demon Venerable. Don't think she is alone right now. The moment we make an attempt on her, we will be met with obstructions. Forget others, just Feng Jiugu alone is a huge problem. This person is strong enough to match Duke Long right now. We will observe the changes in the battlefield, let these people kill each other as their luck dissipates, then we will see if there is a chance to make a move on Feng Jin Huang. Spectral Soul and the two servants walked out of the immortal goo house and observed the battlefield from far away. Right now, Heavenly Court's side was gathered around Heaven Overseeing Tower and defended with all their strength. Their situation had become extremely perilous. The other immortals' attacks were unusually fierce. They were under the amplification from heroes among people, but also the weakening from Destiny Song. With Fang Yuan and Di Zongsheng at the lead, every minute action made Heavenly Court's side nervous. Duke Long and Feng Jiugu were like main pillars. One person blocked Fang Yuan while the other suppressed Di Zongsheng, but both were disadvantaged since they had to defend Heaven Overseeing Tower as well. Demon Judgment Board was struggling to defend against Myriad Year Flying Warship and Dragon Palace's joint attacks. Golden Pearl soldiers were completely destroyed. Heavenly Court's main force was on a constant retreat and the defensive line continued to pull back. Heavenly Court's defeat is imminent. Fairy Ziwei commented, the eerie light in her eyes flickered. Only Yuan Qiongdu was standing on the top floor of Heaven Overseeing Tower. Song Yan and Che Wei were lying on the floor, on the verge of death. There was no one to heal them and Heavenly Court also did not have the ability to spare manpower. Originally, Qi Ci Lang was resisting the Jade Green Light, but when Heavenly Court's main force arrived, they easily handled him. Qi Ci Lang was still bound and could not resist at all. He was directly beheaded and died with grievance. The refinement path Gu formation was already destroyed. Yuan Qiongdu could only continue restoring Fate Gu by himself. Almost there, almost there. Yuan Qiongdu mumbled, a fire was burning in his palm. Boom! Heaven Overseeing Tower suffered a heavy attack and shook violently. Yuan Qiongdu's refinement was disturbed. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unconscious. Fate Gu's restoration was forcefully halted. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1949, Beheaded by One Slice. 1949 Beheaded by One Slice. Immortal Killer Move, 5 Rotational Destruction. 5 Elements Grandmaster shouted in fury. He faced the sky with his palms and pushed. A 5-colored ring appeared. The ring flew to the sky and let out a powerful attraction force, absorbing all kinds of killer moves and even desolate beasts. Heavenly Court's defensive line fell into chaos. Charge! Southern Borders Gu Immortals grasped this chance and activated Rank 8 Immortal Gu House Great Space Temple to charge in through the gap. Heavenly Court's Yu Zhuzi gritted his teeth as he pointed at Great Space Temple and shouted, "Go!" Most of the jade pearls floating around him flew out and struck Great Space Temple before detonating. Bam bam bam. The detonation of jade pearls resounded like thunder. Jade fragments scattered everywhere and attached themselves onto Great Space Temple, actually slowing this Rank 8 Immortal Gu House by several times. With this chance, Heavenly Court's members quickly reinforced and used all their strength to force Great Space Temple out. But, although Great Space Temple was forced out, Wu Yong made his move on the other side. Immortal Killer Move, Finger Wind Dragon. Immortal Killer Move, Chaotic Shooting Blades. Wu Yong flicked his fingers repeatedly, throwing out several dark jade worms. The small worms grew larger as they flew in the sky, expanding to 10 feet, 50 feet, 150 feet. In just a few breaths of time, they turned into vicious wind dragons that was 220 feet long, baring their fangs as they attacked Heavenly Court's defensive line. Wu Yong's eyes flashed with a green light, the wind dragons roared and turned into countless jade wind blades, shooting everywhere. The wind blades were sharp, cutting everything in their path. Heavenly Court's main force could only grit their teeth and face the killer moves forcibly. Using this chance when they were too occupied, Wu Yong turned around and infiltrated the defense line. "Don't even think about it." A delicate voice sounded, flower petals flew in the sky. Wan Zihong blocked Wu Yong. She had been paying heavy attention towards Wu Yong without daring to be careless. The moment Wu Yong made the move, she went to fill the gap. Wu Yong sighed and could only drop the plan. The Southern Border Gu Immortals inside clear jade dripping wind tiny bamboo building were shouting towards the Eastern Sea Gu Immortal Hua Kaiyun, "Go in quickly." Previously, Wan Zihong had been fighting with Hua Kaiyun and Qing Yuan. Right now, Wan Zihong went to fill the defensive gap which left behind the hole, letting Hua Kaiyun and Qing Yuan infiltrate the defensive line. Hua Kaiyun and Qing Yuan glanced at each other and sensed the other had no intention to charge in, so they both chose to battle in the same place without having any intention to invade. The human wills influenced the Eastern Sea Immortals' resoluteness, but the influence was limited. Right now, Hua Kaiyun and Qing Yuan were already feeling regret. How could they have joined the decisive battle in Heavenly Court because of a moment of hot-headedness? Wasn't it quite good and satisfying to plunder immortal materials in Central Continent? Why did they have to fight to the death here? They were not fools. The first ones to invade the defensive line would definitely be met with fierce counterattacks from Heavenly Court's forces. They might even die if they were just a little bit careless. Because she had seen through this, Wan Zihong boldly went to fill the defensive gap and block Wu Yong. The nature of Eastern Sea Gu Immortals is like this. Wan Zihong's eyes shone sharply. She had a deep understanding regarding Eastern Sea. But at the next moment, Shi Miao suddenly charged into Heavenly Court's defensive line. He was also an Eastern Sea Gu Immortal. Heavenly Court's main force were barely able to maintain the defensive line, and when they were forced, they would let the defensive gap appear in front of the Eastern Sea Gu Immortals. But Heavenly Court's main force would have never imagined that Shi Miao was already controlled by Dragon Palace and had become a dragon general, unafraid of death in battles. Heavenly Court's main force was dazed and allowed Shi Miao to smoothly charge into the defensive line and near Heaven Overseeing Tower. Just as he was about to charge inside, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Shi Miao. "In your dream." Duke Long's voice resounded in Shi Miao's ears. Shi Miao had already put up his defenses. His skin was like a layer of rocks, extremely firm. But his tough skin was immediately pierced by Duke Long's right hand and his neck was grabbed firmly. Shi Miao immediately felt suffocation. An intense force spread from Duke Long's right hand and cracked the rock skin on his neck. What kind of strength is this? Shi Miao was horrified. He struggled with all his might but it was fruitless. Just as his neck was about to snap, a sword light arrived. Duke Long dodged immediately, but this was predicted. The sword light struck his waist, then passed through behind like a ray of light. Duke Long's body was almost cut apart by this sword light. An enormous wound appeared on his stomach from where blood flowed out without stopping. The sword light continued with its momentum and struck Heaven Overseeing Tower. Fortunately, defensive measures were already activated around Heaven Overseeing Tower. It was not unprepared like when Bo Qing's sword light cut it. A white barrier flickered around the tower before finally stopping the sword light. Fang Yuan. Duke Long turned his head towards where the attack came from. At that direction was Fang Yuan, who had once again transformed into an immemorial sword dragon. The sword dragon's claws were clenched into a fist. The attack just now was five-finger fist heart sword. This killer move had terrifying might. Duke Long absolutely could not sit idly and watch Fang Yuan use it casually. He immediately gave up on Shi Miao and used Dragon Gate to approach Fang Yuan. But at this time, Shi Miao suddenly revealed a strange smile. His whole body melted and rapidly covered Duke Long's body. This change caught Duke Long off guard, and Fang Yuan was able to activate five-finger fist heart sword again. Second sword, third sword, fourth sword. Every sword light struck Duke Long and passed through his body. The remaining four struck Heaven Overseeing Tower till it shook. Lord Duke Long. This unexpected situation caused Heavenly Court's immortals to pale in fright. Even Duke Long had never expected Shi Miao to willingly give up his life to pin him down. Fang Yuan's five-finger fist heart sword struck him, but Shi Miao was also struck. There were three terrifyingly large sword wounds on Duke Long's body. He was dripping with blood, but he still had a breath of life left in him. Shi Miao, however, could not be any more dead. His form was a severed corpse. He died with a smile on his face. Duke Long, your life shall end here. Fang Yuan said softly before pointing the fifth sword of five-finger fist heart sword. The sword light seemed to pierce through time and space. No one could block its speed. Heavenly Court's immortals watched the sword light strike Duke Long with a horrified gaze. At the moment of death, Duke Long's eyes lost their light as he fell into a whirlpool of memories. Childhood. Duke Long was lying on the bed and crying, "Father, Mother, don't die, don't leave me behind." Child. Duke Long's father rubbed his head and showed a carefree smile even when death was impending. Don't cry and don't grieve. We suffered these fatal wounds to stop Di Zongxing's rampage. This is our responsibility as members of Heavenly Court, and it is also something we are willing to do. Death is the final destination of life. The crucial thing is whether we died a worthy death. You will understand this when you grow up, my child. Duke Long's mother spoke. You will understand what our sacrifices signify. Although this leads to separation, it is also our honor and duty to protect humanity. The stronger one is, the greater their responsibilities. Protecting our people is the noble task that has been inherited by us and countless seniors. When you grow up, you will also continue to walk our path. We will be looking forward to your growth in the other world. You need to work hard and persevere. Adolescence. Young Duke Long was breathing heavily. He was knocked down by a puppet and was lying down on the ground. A Gu master laughed loudly from the side and clapped. Little Long, your performance is already great. Get up, rest for a while. No, I can still continue to fight. Young Duke Long used all his strength and stood up unsteadily. I will double my efforts, work hard in cultivation and keep on growing stronger. This puppet in front of me is nothing. There will be a day when I will become an expert like my parents. I will become a Gu immortal of Heavenly Court and follow their path. Ha ha ha, such aspirations. I am really looking forward to your future. The Gu master praised sincerely. Adulthood. This is how it feels to be a Gu immortal. Duke Long passed the Ascension Tribulation and became a rank 6 Gu immortal. Amazing, kid. You have become an immortal at such a young age. Thinking back to when I was your age, I was still competing with my rival in love, ahaha. A Heavenly Court Gu immortal laughed. Thank you for guarding me during this period. The adult Duke Long bowed towards the Gu immortal and said with great sincerity. The Heavenly Court Gu immortal waved his hand. You should have realized it by now, your identity is special. You are the Tao guardian of the future immortal venerable, so your cultivation path will always be smooth. Even if there are setbacks, it will only signify that you are going to reap even greater harvests later. Heavenly Court needs you, the future immortal venerable needs you, humanity needs you. Kid, becoming an immortal is not your end point, it is just your starting point. You can't get complacent, you can't stop moving forward. We all need you. Yes, I will persevere till I die. I will contribute every bit of my strength and every drop of my blood and sweat for Heavenly Court, for humanity, and for the future. Duke Long swore. Middle age. Rank 8 cultivation, unimaginable. Rank 8 cultivation, unimaginable, you actually accomplished this at your age. Duke Tong said with a moved voice. Perhaps we should say, worthy of a Tao guardian. Ha ha ha, with you, Heavenly Court can be even more prosperous. Duke Mei laughed brightly. I am flattered, seniors. The middle-aged Duke Long spoke modestly. Duke Mei and Duke Tong glanced at each other. The former said, so, have you considered our suggestion? Become one of us, lead Heavenly Court and guide the future immortal venerable seed. Duke Long nodded with no hesitation. Yes, I have already prepared myself. Ha ha ha, then from today onwards, you are Duke Long. One of the 3 dukes of Heavenly Court, and also the most important one. Heavenly Court's heavy responsibility will mainly rest on your shoulders. Duke Long nodded his head slowly and said with a solemn expression, this is the path I have been pursuing. This is the expectation that my parents and the countless seniors I have met in life hold, it is the result that Heavenly Court and humanity needs. This responsibility. I, Duke Long, will undertake it with no hesitation. Old age. Come back, Hong Ting, you can still turn around. Duke Long called. Master, I failed to live up to your teachings and expectations, I am sorry, but I must revive them. Red Lotus did not turn around, disappearing into the night. Duke Long closed his eyes in pain, his body on the verge of collapsing. The disciple he had taught with all his heart for so many years chose to walk on such a path. I guided an immortal venerable to become a demon venerable, I have sinned. Duke Long knelt before Duke Tong and Duke Mei. Get up quickly. Duke Tong and Duke Mei held Duke Long's arms and consoled him. You need to have faith, Duke Long, we still have hope. It is not your fault, Duke Long, we have all seen the efforts you have put in. It is Hong Ting who has disappointed us, not you. No. Duke Long shook off the 2's hands and said with an extremely solemn expression, he is my disciple, if he is walking on the wrong path now, it is my mistake. It is my sin. I must pay for this, I will stake all my strength to make up for this mistake. For Heavenly Court and for humanity, even if I have to give up everything, I will pull Red Lotus back to the righteous path. And finally, in his twilight years. Duke Long was sitting cross-legged in the hall, his head lowered and his hair was disheveled. 2 trails of tears quietly trickled down his face. In front of him on the cold floor were the corpses of people he was familiar with, these were Dragon Man corpses. The pain in his heart submerged everything and roared like a tsunami, threatening to drown Duke Long. He was originally blessed with the joys of familial bonds, but who could have thought he would have to suffer such an impact in his twilight years? What was even more sad was that the killer of his children and grandchildren was he himself. This was the tragedy that he single-handedly created. It is my fault, back then I should not have. Duke Long's voice was choked with emotions. He slowly raised his head, his gaze seemed to be under extreme weight as he slowly looked at each corpse. Joyful conversations and laughter along with blissful scenes of him with his grandchildren surfaced in his mind. It is not your fault, my children. Everything is my fault. Duke Long's back bent down, he used his powerless fist to pound his chest, light thumping sounds echoed in the hall. I was negligent in my care towards you, I did not guide you well, you ended up walking on the wrong path. I was wrong, I am not a good master, I am also not a good ancestor. But for the prosperity of humanity, for Heavenly Court, I had to sacrifice you. Believe me, I never wanted this outcome. But I have no choice, I might be a dragon man but my heart has always stood with humanity. I cannot let you disrupt the rule of humanity, that is the result gained after countless generations sacrificed themselves. And most importantly, your roots also lie in humanity. If you want to blame someone, then blame me, I cannot beg for your forgiveness neither do I dare to do that. Let me bear all the sins, let me pay for them. My children. I cannot bring myself to separate with you. You will merge with me, we will never be apart. As your ancestor, I have failed you and did not give you a beautiful life and stable environment to live in. But this is all I can do. I, Duke Long, am just a dying old man. Present. The fifth sword flew towards Duke Long so fast that it was already in front of Duke Long. Whoosh! There was a soft sound, time seemed to have been slowed down by countless times. Duke Long's head lightly separated from his neck. Blood flowed out slowly and spurted out just as slowly. He was beheaded by Fang Yuan with one slice. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1950, The True Triple Chi Retraction. 1950 The True Triple Chi Retraction. Lord Duke Long. The heavenly court immortals' horrified cries resounded, but to Duke Long, these voices became increasingly weaker. At the start, they were like roaring waves, but almost at the next moment, they became light echoes from the horizon. Is this the feeling of death? I, Duke Long, am finally going to die. Die here? Thoughts were still flashing past Duke Long's mind. Die here? He asked himself again. Tired, I am really tired. He had walked till now while bearing heavy duty and expectations, he withstood the burden of endless sins. There were times when he really wanted to die. When he first stepped into the immortal graveyard and hibernated, he had let his imagination run wild. If I died like this, it feels like it might be a pretty good thing. But could he? Could he? He asked himself. No. He could not. He, Duke Long, lived all his life while carrying a heavy burden. He shouldered the expectations of his parents, master, and companions. He shouldered the responsibility of heavenly court and humanity. He took on the blame for his disciples' betrayal and the calamity he caused. He took on the sin of exterminating his offspring by his own hands. He got injured, he got old. His back slowly bent down, his gaze slowly dimmed. He slumbered in the immortal graveyard, but when the time came, he crawled up and continued to bear his responsibility and mission. That's right, I cannot die, I cannot. I still need to deal with the enemies, I still haven't cleared my sins, I still haven't corrected my mistakes. The immortal graveyard is already destroyed. If I fall now, Feng Jiugu will not be able to salvage the situation alone. Heavenly court will be destroyed by the enemies. How can I fall now? I cannot fall. My companions need me, heavenly court needs me, humanity needs me. They need me, Duke Long. So, no matter how tired I am, even if I am extremely exhausted, even if I hibernate in the graveyard, even if I die, even if I have been beheaded, I, Duke Long, cannot afford to fall. I need to stand up, I need to continue fighting. Instantly, as if the entire universe was responding to his unyielding will, a miracle happened. Duke Long's dimmed pupils suddenly burst out with shocking light that rushed towards the sky. The blood that spurted out of his neck returned rapidly, the countless chi in the surrounding condensed and brought his head back to his neck. An extremely profound aura carried a true inheritance and entered his body. The wounds on his body started healing rapidly, he completely healed within a few breaths. It is Lord Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's method. And this chi path true inheritance, so triple chi retraction can actually be used in this manner. Duke Long immediately comprehended, great joy surfacing on his face. Lord Duke Long, he has revived. The miracle happened right in front of them, heavenly court's morale bounced back. Fang Yuan's expression was still tranquil, it is Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's method. There was a backup after all. This is heavenly court's foundation. Wu Yong mumbled, his expression was dark, he felt powerlessness. Duke Long raised his head and floated in the air, he spread out his arms and legs as he said, Duke Long, will not fall right now. Oh Fang Yuan, let me show you the genuine. Triple chi retraction. Triple chi retraction. This move's reputation was too huge. The moment Duke Long said this, the three region's immortals slowed down their offenses in fright and uncertainty. Fang Yuan's expression was also solemn. He had personally witnessed the terrifying might of triple Qi retraction. Back then, Duke Long had used this move to determine his victory, directly defeating Purple Mountain True Monarch. Triple Qi retraction has a total of 3 styles: first style, human Qi retraction; second style, earth Qi retraction; and third style, heaven Qi retraction. Human Qi retraction greatly reduces a Gu immortal's human Qi and their condition will fall sharply. Earth Qi retraction will extract earth Qi and cause heavy damage to the immortal aperture. Heaven Qi retraction will extract heaven Qi and combined with the damage from the previous 2 styles, the immortal aperture will shatter directly. If one is hit by the first style, the second style and third style cannot be blocked. So, the key is in the first style. All kinds of information flashed through Fang Yuan's mind. He moved his dragon body and retreated cautiously. Although he had transformed into an immemorial sword dragon and seemed to have gotten rid of his human status, he was not certain if human Qi retraction could extract his human Qi or not. Since this move was created by primordial origin immortal venerable, even if there was no transformation path back then, Duke Long would have definitely made relevant modifications to fill this gap. Whoosh! At the next moment, vast Qi surged from all directions and winds moved like waves, gathering around Duke Long's body. Endless amounts of human Qi, earth Qi, and heaven Qi gathered in Duke Long's body, turning into countless Qi path Dao marks while also drastically raising his power in every aspect. Fang Yuan's eyes narrowed. What is this? Triple Qi retraction's 3 styles are being activated at the same time, plundering a vast amount of Qi to empower Duke Long. Is this a condition triggered by primordial origins method? Triple Qi retraction's effect had already deviated from its usual ability. Power, an unprecedented power. The feeling of power filled Duke Long's body and mind. He stepped lightly, boom. The air below him directly exploded as his body flew like a purple meteor and appeared in front of Fang Yuan in an instant. Fast, extremely fast. But Fang Yuan had no fear since reverse flow protection seal was still activated. Boom. Duke Long's fist struck his head. Fang Yuan was knocked down like a cannonball. He smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. Reverse flow protection seal immediately appeared shallow and illusory from this attack. Fang Yuan shook his giant dragon head, shaking off the dizziness, when Duke Long appeared in front of his eyes again. Both sides were within 100 steps. Duke Long charged over, his whole body emitted blazing Qi that raised his mighty disposition to the extreme. Fang Yuan's eyes were cold as he snorted inwardly. Whoosh! Myriad Year flying warship had already been lying in ambush, and when Duke Long charged forward at this moment, it immediately pierced through the air, like a giant blade that cut towards Duke Long with a heavy shadow of death. Struck. Myriad Year flying warship was like a giant broadsword that cut Duke Long. Boom. Dust and soil flew before they were dispelled by the violent Qi around Duke Long. Duke Long was struck by Myriad Year flying warship. He was half crouching on the ground, one hand holding the ground while the other hand released a powerful strength as it grabbed the front bottom part of Myriad Year flying warship. He actually held off the whole of Myriad Year flying warship's weight with a single hand. Crack, crack. A series of sharp sounds could be heard. The muscles on Duke Long's hands bulged as he slowly pushed back Myriad Year flying warship inch by inch. Fang Yuan's pupils shrank slightly. The Myriad Year flying warship of this moment was not the same as before. It was merged with 12 Zodiac battle formation and was enough to rank among the top 5 immortal Gu houses in the world. Duke Long actually resisted its full-powered collision with one hand. The strength amplification Duke Long received from triple Qi retraction had far surpassed Fang Yuan's estimation. Ha! Duke Long breathed out as he exerted strength and stood up. He brought his other hand together and actually threw Myriad Year flying warship far away. Fang Yuan observed the whole process with indifference, his dragon pupils reflecting Duke Long's clear face. Fang Yuan swung his dragon tail and retreated quickly, leaving the heaven-overseeing tower battlefield. Duke Long's speed already surpassed Fang Yuan's, but he could only watch as Fang Yuan left. Because at this moment, Dragon Palace and 3 immortal Gu houses were attacking Feng Jiu Gu. Feng Gu had to split his attention to resist them, so Destiny Song unavoidably weakened. Di Zongsheng was free and charged towards Heaven Overseeing Tower once again. Evil Dragon. Stop. Almost in an instant, Duke Long appeared on Di Zongsheng's head. Immortal Killer Move, Qi Breath Mountain. An enormous translucent Qi mountain took shape in a blink of an eye and pressed down fiercely. Boom, heaven and earth shook. Di Zongsheng's head was pressed down to the ground by Qi Breath Mountain. Triple Qi retraction increased the might of Duke Long's Qi path methods to a horrifying level. However, after using this move, the Qi around Duke Long fell sharply by 30%. A chance. Seeing this, Five Elements Grandmaster, Wu Yong, and Zhang Yin attacked at almost the same time. 3 long-range killer moves attacked Duke Long. Duke Long did not dodge and also did not use self-moving dragon Qi wall, he actually let the killer moves engulf his body. Smoke and fire rose, thunder rumbled. The dazzling scene dissipated, Duke Long was still standing in the sky, standing tall and upright. Did you want to scratch my itch with these 3 small tricks? Duke Long ridiculed loudly. The faces of Wu Yong, Five Elements Grandmaster, and Zhang Yin reddened with anger and shock. Triple Qi retraction. Duke Long shouted once again. In an instant, vast Qi surged and appeared from all corners of Heavenly Court before gathering inside Duke Long's body within a few seconds. Rumble. Duke Long's aura expanded once again. Not only did he return to his earlier state, he even gained an extra layer. From the original 10 feet, it broke through to 20 feet. The aura covered his whole body and the translucent fire burned high. Duke Long's purple hair waved wildly and his scales shone brightly. Because of Heavenly Dragon's last stand as well, Duke Long's body right now had already far surpassed the size of an ordinary human, his body expanded several times and gave an extremely oppressive feeling. Di Zongsheng roared, unreconciled as it lifted its giant dragon head out from the pit. Duke Long suddenly appeared to the side of Di Zongsheng's head and gave a straight punch. The huge force twisted Di Zongsheng's head and even its enormous body rolled away, destroying countless buildings of Heavenly Court in its way. But Duke Long no longer cared about these, everything had to prioritize Heaven Overseeing Tower. In the previous life, Di Zongsheng's battle strength could match Duke Long's, but in this life, it was directly suppressed. If it was said that Feng Gu used the profundity of Destiny Song to defeat Di Zongsheng, then Duke Long suppressed Di Zongsheng by relying on his own strength. I understand now. Although I destroyed the immortal graveyard, Heavenly Court still exists. When a Gu immortal joins Heavenly Court, they will contribute their immortal aperture, countless grotto heaven worlds merge together to form the current Heavenly Court. Every immortal aperture is a balance of 3 Qi and contains Heaven Qi, Earth Qi, and Human Qi. Currently, Duke Long is using Triple Qi retraction not against us but on Heavenly Court. Fang Yuan's thoughts moved lightning fast as he deduced the general details. Heavenly Court's 3 Qi were naturally exploited by Duke Long and it could even be said to be an infinite supply. With such a powerful supplement, Duke Long's battle strength exploded and suppressed Di Zongsheng with just his body. But out of Heavenly Court, the killer move Triple Qi retraction would lose such might. No such vigorous Triple Qi were around in the outside world and they could not be used by Duke Long freely. That meant, Duke Long's strength had limitations, he must stay inside Heavenly Court. However, even though Fang Yuan saw through this weakness, it was useless. Heaven Overseeing Tower was also inside Heavenly Court. Fang Yuan had to strive to destroy Fate Gu, so he could not bypass Heavenly Court or the current Duke Long. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.